What's up, guys? Give me a minute or so to set this thing up. All right, so we're both live. We're live both on TikTok and YouTube. So let me make sure I hear myself. Well, we have a guest already. Well, Shabbat Tov, guys. Shabbat Tavach. Good week. I'm just testing my audio here. Well, Shabbat Tov, guys. Shabbat Tavach. Good week. All right. So, my friend, you are the first person on tonight. Welcome.
Thank you. How was your Shabbos?
Thank God.
Good. It's good.
It
So
sounds like you're Jewish.
what is that?
Are you Jewish?
Yes.
Are you a religious Jew?
I used to be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Where do you live? What state?
Massachusetts.
I think we've spoken before.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to understand. So, what sect of Judaism do you follow? Are you conservative or Orthodox or something else?
I mean, what shul do I go to? It's modern Orthodox. Most people who are Orthodox don't like identifying as Orthodox. It's typically, it's kind of cringy. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm a Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Mitzvahs. I go to Young Israel. I've recently been going more to Chabad, and yeah, that's what I belong to.
Uh-huh. Do you feel like as time goes on? So I've been trying to figure this out. Concerning the Messiah.
Mhm.
Um, there's like I'm not sure. I think it's a myth that he'll come in the year 6000. That isn't true, right? It's just like a mystical thing.
Correct. It's called the Medrash.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many midrash like on this topic. There's many rabbis who obviously miscalculated Messiah be here. Even Maimonides, he writes in his Agar Teman, in his book to the Yemenite community, that I believe he had some understanding that the Messiah was going to come in his lifetime, and they're all wrong, right? So there's one medrash because it says that a day to us is like or a day to God is 1,000 years to us. At least this is how it says it appears in Tehillim. That because God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh, the world will exist for 6,000 years, and the 7,000 years will be some sort of millennial reign. So that's going to be like the Shabbos for existence. Yeah, but that's just one out of many legends out there. I guess that's a proper word for Midrash and Agadah.
Does the I forgot the name of it, but the Torah, like the original text,
Yeah.
does that say what to expect when the Messiah will come? Like, is it supposed to be a specific type of person? Or is all that like mysticism as well?
I guess
we don't know that much.
You'll probably be surprised to hear that the Torah doesn't mention the notion of the Messiah literally.
Interesting.
Yeah, so someone in the chat is telling me to stop proselytizing because like people have this misunderstanding that the religion itself, right, the religion based off of source material, right, the oral law and the written law, in some way prohibits proselytizing. I know Jews don't do it nowadays; they haven't done it for probably the last 1,000 years because our host countries in all. But the religion allows for at least encouraging people to look into it. But yeah, the notion of the Messiah, to be honest, at least the way it is taught nowadays, it seems to be more of a developed idea. It's so weird that the whole religion is based off of it. If you ask, sorry.
So, assuming it was okay, with like people in general, is there anything stopping us from like building the third temple like tomorrow?
Absolutely not. I mean, you could build the temple. I guess maybe the ashes of the red heifer. But we have red cows in Israel, supposedly, according to one. I mean, every few years they say they find a few here and there, because everyone has what's called the tumat met, which is impurity of coming into contact with the dead body, which prohibits us from entering the temple. So we need the ashes of the red heifer sprinkled in water so we can immerse in before we enter the temple. So apart from that, there's really nothing stopping us. Nothing stopping us but politics.
Fine. Yeah,
No,
it'd
I don't want it to be rebuilt right now, because the bigger question is that who's going to run it, right? I mean, you want Satmar or Chabad to run the temple?
I don't know.
I rather Israel remain neutral ground. I want there to be a separation of shul and state in Israel, just because I think the Orthodox in Israel, anything they control, they screw up. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I share that opinion as well. All right. Well, thanks for talking. Have a good night.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. All right. Let's see. I was going to say something before I started choking up. Yeah, so the notion of the Messiah, the way it's taught nowadays, boy, it's better not to believe in the Messiah if you're going to believe in the Messiah that Jews are waiting for today. Now, the Messiah that Jews are waiting for today is a little different than, let's say, the Messiah mentioned by Maimonides and more rationalist. The Messiah most Jews are waiting for, boy, it sounds like Jesus. It sounds like someone who's superhuman, someone who flies, someone who never dies, someone who could read your mind. It's a problem. It's a problem. I mean, someone who has like his own throne in heaven. Yeah, yeah. So according to the Rambam, the Mashiach he was waiting for was just a king, just like any other king, and that's it. Now, granted, I think that the notion as it appears in the prophets was a bit exaggerated, a bit embellished, just because any statement that these prophets ever mentioned regarding this Superman, the son of David, was always when Israel was at their weakest, at their lowest point. They were either about to be exiled, they were occupied, or they were already exiled to some other country. So they were looking for soothing words. So they thought, now this is just my opinion, that God himself was going to come down and fight our wars for us. This is what they thought, and I think what the rabbis did, they took this idea, which in some way went against ideas that there shouldn't be an anthropomorphic understanding of God, and they separated it from it being God himself to him being just a king. I think the idea, to be honest, has hurt the Jewish people more than any other notion out there. Heck, from Shabtai Tzvi, Jacob Frank, Bar Kochba, Jesus, it's been a destructive idea, essentially. The Torah, or our religion, revolves around an ethical law code and the author of that code, the God of Israel. But nowadays, if you ask the average person, what does Judaism revolve around, they'll say Mashiach. I think it's a net loss to think that. Anyways, let's see. Okay, yeah, the Messiah lives in Texas. I actually interviewed him and debated him. I have an interview and a debate. If you go on my YouTube channel, type in Asher Meza. I think he's called Sammy the Messiah. He's Indian. Let's see, the Jewish Messiah lives in... Okay. You know what I didn't bring? It's a bottle of water. You will bow down to Jesus. That's what somebody wrote. I don't know. I'm glad Christians are Christian. You know, I mean, I'd be happier if they convert to Judaism, but I'm happy that they found an ethical outlet for themselves. But I do think the belief in Jesus is a bit primitive. Okay, let's see. I need $1 billion. Please pray for me. Yeah, I think you're in the wrong show. Yeah, I don't promote that type of religion. That God is some sort of celestial butler that we just, you want something, ask him for it. I don't think that's a God of the Bible at all. Right? Yeah. Anyways. Am I the villain? I'm for sure the villain. Let's see. Do I believe in Techiyat HaMeitim? So, now, I know that when people ask these questions, they're ready to throw Yigdal in my face, right? The Yud Gimel Karamuna. Like, oh, the Rambam says that you have to believe in Techiyat HaMeitim, you have to believe in Mashiach. Now, mind you, the Rambam existed in it's roughly the 12th century, right? 1135 to 1205 of the Common Era. He wasn't a Tana, he wasn't an Amara. Yes, I understand that certain principles are built off of what appears in his Hagdama to Perichelik, in his Perishim Mishnayot. So it's not just his opinion, but there's many rabbis who disagreed with the standard that the Rambam in some way invented, that a Jew must believe in this or he's not Jewish. Okay, the one that comes to my mind right now is Rav Yosef Albo, Sefer Karm. He said the Jew just has to believe in three things, and he challenged the Rambam, saying that in the Gemara there's an Amar called Hillel Hazakin. It's a different Hillel from the Zugos. And it says that he didn't believe in the coming of Mashiach because he believed that Heskiyahu Melech was Mashiach, and the time of Heskiyahu was Yemus Mashiach, the time of the Messiah, the Messianic age. And this is an Amara, someone who appears in the Gemara. But is he a heretic? Is he not counted amongst the Jewish people, as the Rambam states, if you don't believe in these 13 principles? So I'm not so convinced of Techiyat HaMeitim. And the reason I say that, the reason I say half the things I say on the show is that I'm someone who dialogues with Muslims and Christians all the time because I proselytize. I try to encourage people to at least consider looking into Judaism, or to at least know that it's available in case they ever wanted to become Jewish, right? Know that we have an open door, or that there is an open door policy, not by Jews, but at least by Judaism. So then I've been placed in a position to respond, right? And my answers have to make sense. The average religious Jew typically doesn't speak to people about religious topics who are not Jewish. So it's easy for them to just utter out some claim that they believe in this and that, and they'll never have to explain what's the source of it. I do not know where the source of Techiyat HaMeitim actually comes from. And I get it. Some people say Ezekiel 37, Daniel chapter 12, but it's not in the Torah, which means there's some sort of a principle. Hold on 1 second. That by Chazal, according to the way Judaism functions, our sages, i.e. oral law, only contains practical law. It doesn't contain metaphysics. So something metaphysical like Techiyat HaMeitim, which I guess I didn't translate what that means. It's the resurrection of the dead. That would have to appear in the Torah to be a binding belief because it's metaphysical. There's no legality on that notion. And it doesn't. And the same thing goes for Mashiach. These are essentially metaphysical beliefs that may have earthly practical consequences. Hold on 1 second. My background just suddenly decided to switch on me. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second while I change my background again. Although this is a nice background, by the way. With this background, the average person who stops in won't know what the heck we're talking about. Hold on. Now we have a guest. I think this person's new, although some people... Okay. Hold on.
Hello, brother.
Hi. Hold on, there's... Proverbs chapter 30, verse 3 and 4 mentions a son. What is that? That has nothing to do with Mashiach. That we'll read it later on. Okay. Go ahead. What's up, bro? How's it going?
I'm sorry. Okay. Actually, I need a clarification from you about the meaning of logos. Some Christians say that the logos, actually John is not borrowing the term from the Phila, but is borrowing from from Jews because he's a rabbi. Uh, uh, who's
Who's
his name? Like,
who's a
no. I mean, no. The logos. He learned not from Philo, but from another, from rabbinic teaching. And because the logos in Aramaic means memra,
Mhm.
and in Hebrew it says davar, davar. So my question is it true that the the rabbinic teaching about memra and about davar is the same with the logos, with what Christians believe?
I don't know exactly what Christians believe regarding
The,
logos.
the,
I mean,
they believe the logos is logos incarnate to become a flesh.
so this is
That,
not
that's what they believe.
so this is not a topic that I really teach on. I mean, I teach more on philosophical
Oh,
notions. But I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
so amongst Christians, they have a distinction between logos and rema, right? So they both mean word. Uh, by I think it's expounded in Targum Yonatan on what memra could possibly mean. So memra means like the word of the Lord. But in terms of anything definite, I mean, these aren't Torah principles; they're rabbinic principles. So I don't teach on it.
Okay, okay, okay.
It,
Maybe my last question: Does memra is part of God or not, according to the Jews?
I don't think the average Jew even knows of the notion of memra. It's something that only Christians bring up because Christians try to justify this idea that the word was that in the beginning was the word and the word was with God and the word became flesh.
Yeah,
This is
yeah, yeah.
a notion a Jewish person doesn't even know what that means. The word of the
Okay,
Lord coming to Isaiah or Jeremiah just means that God gave them a message. That's all it means. Now, I'm not going to say that other mystical texts in Judaism don't allude to possibly what Christians are talking about, but there's no consensus on it. I mean, there are a lot more optional beliefs in Judaism than there are in Christianity. But I'll tell you, the average Jew does not know anything about the notion of memra, and especially not it being like God, God or His Son. Yeah.
can we say that the Christian made this up?
No, no. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I've made claims like that in the past, and then I would find it somewhere in Jewish mysticism or Gnosticism of the second century. So I don't think Christians have made up a lot. I think a lot of Christianity could be found in Jewish mystical sources. This is why I don't even attack Christianity so much. I'm not a mystic. I'm a
Oh, yeah,
rational.
okay.
So then
Okay, I'm just
people to look at the Bible from a mystical perspective. But there are many rabbis who do. So I just have to be honest.
okay, brother. Thank you very much.
Okay, no,
Goodbye, brother.
okay. So let's go to some of these questions. I don't know why someone is bringing the tzitza b'peh. Actually, most moils don't do that. They'll use a syringe. I mean, for most, I'm not even going to explain what that is, but fine. Okay. I would not want to become the devil. I don't know what that means. Yeah, so I guess we could look up Proverbs 30, verse 34. Just see if I could do it without disrupting. There's no way not to disrupt the live here. I've heard people mention this in regards to it talking about Jesus. And again, I'm not a counter missionary, at least not anymore. So I don't spend so much time disproving, or I don't have an urge to disprove Christianity. But for sure, that is not talking about God having a son. It's technically not even Solomon speaking there. It's someone named Agur. But I don't know why it's important. Oh, I already have a guest waiting. Hold on, I'm just going to read it quick. 30, verse 3 through 4. Okay. I guess we could just start at 1. So this is the verse that people think it's talking about God having a son or justifying Jesus. Okay. This is Proverbs chapter 30, verse 1. I guess I should have the Hebrew here, so I can read it in Hebrew. I'm just going to help. 1 second. Proverbs, Mishle. Okay. But anyways, yes. It's called Divrei Agur. You know, so it's not, I mean, Shlomo, like, speaking here. Anyways, it says, okay, so this is the whole verse. Surely I am more stupid than any man, and I do not have the understanding of a man, neither have I learned wisdom, nor do I have the knowledge of the Holy One. Now, this is a problem here. A lot of these translations, I think, are wrong, because I don't know where they get Holy One here, because in Hebrew it doesn't say Holy One. In Hebrew it says, V'da'at Kedoshim Eidah. There's no one there. It says, because I have the knowledge of things that are holy. So, I mean, yeah. Anyways, that's the third pasuk. The fourth one says, this is the one I think they mainly use. Who hath ascended up in heaven, and who descended? Who gathered the wind in his fits? Who hath bound the waters in his garments? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is his son's name, if thou knowest? All right. So this is basically saying, who's greater than God? Do you know someone who's done this or that? What's his name, and what's his son's name? It's not saying that God has a son, because it's not talking about, this last portion of the sentence is talking about, do you know anyone who's able to do this? If you can, tell me what his name is. Tell me what his son's name is. It has nothing. I don't even know how they use this, but it's only an illiterate person could come to that conclusion. Fine. Okay, hold on. Let's go back. There we go. I lost my guest. Well, anyways, the person who tried to go on, try again, I'll let you on. Yeah, this show is not like other shows about religion. We're rationalists, and I acknowledge there are Jews who are not rationalists. I would say that I belong to the minority of Orthodox groups. But yes, you could be religious and not buy into a lot of the nonsense that's spewed by most religious people, especially superstition.
Hello.
Come in.
Hey, no, I would like for you to talk about Judaism. I mean, I'm coming from a Christian background, but I never really dived into what that belief system is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's easier, like, if you ask a question and I'll give you an answer.
All right. So, well, you were just saying from Proverbs 33, how they said they misspoke by putting the Holy One there. Because you're
Yeah.
saying it doesn't say that in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's one thing I don't understand with translations. Like, was it, well, Proverbs, it's New Testament or Old Testament?
That's Old Testament.
So it's what, Hebrew and Aramaic, right? Translations?
I think there's only around, I don't know, a very, very small segment of the Jewish Bible that's in Aramaic. Parts of Daniel, parts of Jeremiah, but I mean, just small section. So yeah, it's mostly Hebrew.
I mean, so why would they, the version I'm reading, why would they say Holy One, but a version, in Hebrew it says it wouldn't put Holy One. Why would they add that?
No, I don't know. Read it literally. The see what the Jewish translation translates it as. Yeah, so the Jewish translation also puts Holy One, but in Hebrew it doesn't say that. I mean, there must be more to it, but those words Vedaat Vedaat Kedoshim Eda. I mean, it's like and to know holy things essentially, or things that are holy like in themselves. I don't know where they get the word holy one from, but even the JPS translates it as holy one. So I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine on why they.
So how can you convince me to become Jewish?
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to show the Hebrew here in this. I guess you can't see it, but the people on YouTube can. Let me see. Anyways, I lost it. Yeah, this has nothing to do with Judaism, by the way. I mean, Judaism is not based on who is or who is not the Messiah. That's what modern day Jews have made out of it, and Christians believe practice some form of mystical Judaism. I think that what makes the Bible shine is the first 5 books, or the commandments within the first 5 books.
The Torah.
Supernatural. And that makes you an ethical person because you follow someone who also tried to live a Torah existence. Jesus was Jewish. He was made righteous because he kept Torah laws, i.e. God's laws. So, I mean, just from that perspective alone, that doesn't even entail you dropping Jesus. That just should get you to try to be as ethical as Jesus was by keeping the same law that Jesus kept. So, I mean, that's not even about, like me attacking Christianity, because I don't really do that. I would rather you consider becoming Torah observant and entering into some sort of agreement with God that you're going to commit yourself to the ethical code that appears there. And that itself would give you the status that the Hebrews attained at Mount Sinai, which is Israel. So that's essentially what makes you Jewish. Entering into a covenant with God that you're going to keep his law, and he's going to be your God, and you're going to be part of his people.
I mean, isn't that the same fundamental idea as Islam? That you're going to be faithful to Allah and listen to his commandments?
Say it again, I'm sorry?
Is to be a Muslim is to be submissive to God, right? To submit yourself to God.
Yes.
That's basically what you just described.
Right.
You're submitting yourself to God. So
Right.
what's the difference? Both Abraham backgrounds, both children from Abraham.
Because it's a different religion with a different standard. I mean, it's a religion that came after Christianity. So it basically, one could honestly call it a copycat.
The text came after Christianity, yes, but the lineage goes all the way back from Adam.
Yeah, what are you submitting yourself to? But God's laws. So if you in some way do away with the initial standard, create a new standard, I mean, how could it be the same?
Human beings couldn't submit to those 10 simplistic laws. That's why when Moses led the people out of Egypt, God gave them everything, and then a flip of a switch, they started worshiping the golden calf again.
Mm-hmm.
He literally showed his miracles in effect, and with the flip of the switch, humanity still turned his back on God. That's why he had to send. That's why I believe John 3:16, where he sent his son down to take us, to give us the pathway to the kingdom of heaven.
Uh-huh. You know how long or how much time passed between the giving of the Torah and when Jesus walked on this planet?
Not really.
Years. I mean, for sure. So God in some way allowed Israel to go into exile, to be redeemed, because it says that exile is a formula, that when Israel begins to sin, God sends in prophetic intervention. If we don't listen to the prophet, he exiles us, and only when we repent, he brings us back. So this happened around 2 times before Jesus died. All this had to happen for, in some way, God to realize that his initial system wasn't good enough, that he was going to in some way rewrite the playbook. I mean, does that make sense?
Maybe I'm not too knowledgeable about to have this conversation, but I I don't know. I thought it was different because I don't know, man. I should just say it out, man.
No, 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 no. Please say. This isn't. I'm not trying to debate you. I just want you to know how it sounds to you, right? Because I'm not anti-Jesus. I mean, I don't believe Jesus is God or the Messiah, but I definitely think that he was an ethical individual. I think Christians are ethical. I would encourage someone who's atheistical, if he's not going to become Jewish, to consider becoming Christian. But, you know, there's a playbook that was initiated with God, and it was called the Torah. And in that Torah, God tells us how he blesses us and how he curses us. He tells us that he doesn't expect us to be perfect, right? Which is why he set up a system of reward and punishment even before Jesus was born. And he said that if you keep my commandments, right, he'll reward us in the collective. And when you start breaking them in the collective, then he exiles you. But then he says he brings you back. And there were individuals who were part of that system, like King David, the prophets. There were many individuals that God himself called righteous. Now, they weren't perfect. King David for sure wasn't perfect, but he was good enough to please God, right? Or then the Bible wouldn't refer to him as righteous. Now, righteous essentially just means good, but that doesn't mean perpetually good. Like you have a stamp you can't remove. But it just means that at that point in time, you were behaving well enough for it to be noted. That's it. So it's hard for Jews to believe that now with Jesus, God is in some way going to rewrite the system, right? And even Muslims, because Muslims feel the same way. They're like, well, the initial system wasn't good enough. The Christian system wasn't good enough. And now Islam has in some way given us the final version, 3.0. And of course, every belief system that comes after has to belittle the one that came before, then there's no reason to have a new system. So it's no secret that Christianity views the Jewish Bible as the Old Testament, and Muslims view the New Testament and Christian doctrine and Judaism as backward and even pagan. And of course, groups like Mormonism feel that they're the last Coca-Cola in the desert, and on and on and on. So it's always better to start with the first text before you start studying any offshoots. And if you would start with the book of Genesis all the way to, let's say, Deuteronomy, which is like the real word of God, the initial word of God, then it would tell you that we're not allowed to add or take away to this belief system or from this belief system, which would keep you out of Christianity and Islam because they added new ideas, right? God in some way changed his mind. He realized that his people weren't keeping the law. Now you don't have to keep the law because you keep it unknowingly by accepting Jesus in your heart, which, I mean, Christians do, I think, more good on this planet than almost any other group. I do acknowledge, I mean, I'm Jewish, I'm not Christian. So I think because this happens because we feed from the same ethical well, which is the Torah, right? So, I mean, I'd rather be with what's purer than essentially overall who's been more ethically influential on this planet, which is for sure Christians, just because there's more of them. Yeah, I mean, anyways.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say anymore, really. I mean, it's kind of hard to just say, I don't know, my personal experiences, and this is another thing when people like get lost and stuff, like the spiritual realm, I do believe in it, that, we can get affected in this modern day earth, because I personally think I've been affected by some good and bad things, but with that being said, I mean, Islam, I mean, if the more research I do into Islam, I haven't really done Judaism, but it's kind of the same thing, the Christian thing, but why can't there be a 3.0 of the Bible? You know what I mean?
The problem with that is that God told us not to add or take away from his initial word. So that would be, okay, so that would mean that we believe in what's called progressive revelation. Like God is giving us more and more and more. Now, like you can't really run a religion like that, if we could call it, walking a godly lifestyle like that, because any person who's in some way creative and energetic would just create another religion and another religion and another religion, but the big question is, what did Christianity and Islam really bring into the mix? The Torah gave us ethics, right? I mean, it's called the law.
The law, yeah.
Right. And it seems that Christianity and Islam just brought narrative. Narrative and like it just told a story on how God loves us and what he did for us and what we should do to get to heaven and stay out of hell. And it's the same idea with Islam. With Islam, they threw in the notion of cleaning up corrupted notions of monotheism, because their whole thing is like, well, I mean, the Messiah is not God, Jesus is not God, he didn't get crucified, like all these, they're the only leg to stand on is cannibalistic monotheism, which is what I believe really solidified them as a major force. I mean, they had something to throw in the face of Christians. But in terms of ethics, what did they really bring to the table? I'm not saying they're not ethical, but their ethics came from the Torah. So I think that we can do with less narrative and more ethics. And I think if people would think more like that, they'd consider Judaism as a viable alternative to these two later monotheistic religions.
So Judaism is legit just the first 5 books in the Bible? That's what the Jew Bible is, I guess?
Yeah. Well, the Jewish Bible is the whole Old Testament, right? What Christians call the Old Testament, Jews call it Tanakh. But the Word of God is specifically the commandments within the Torah, and all these other books in the Jewish Bible are there to bring you back to the Torah. So this is why we have prophets. God says that he's going to send us prophets when we lose our way. And this is why he sends us Jeremiah, Ezekiel. But we shouldn't consider the books of the prophets the Word of God. I mean, they're there to bring you back to the Word of God, because we
See,
shouldn't.
but like piggybacking off of what you just said right there, he sends prophets. So how come it's hard for you to accept that Muhammad was a prophet, or Isa, or Jesus, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to stop at a certain prophet just because that's what agrees with your belief? When if you reach out of your own, basically, my confusion with this is there could be other prophets out there. Like Muhammad could be, like you said, 3.0, and then whoever knows, 50 or 60 years from now, there could be another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. It all comes down to how we define the job of the prophet. Islam views the status of a prophet as someone who adds to God's revelation. They add new things, and they believe that every prophet added something new to God's theology. That's not the Jewish understanding of a prophet after the Torah was given. We make a distinction between the prophecy of Moses and every other prophet, meaning only Moses could establish doctrine, actual statements from God that everyone must keep and obey for all generations. The job of the prophet is only to bring you back to that initial standard. So God sends Israel prophets when Israel is behaving incorrectly to bring them back to the initial standard. So this is why Muhammad can be a prophet, because he created a new standard. If Muhammad would have said, you know what, guys, turn back to the Torah, you've lost your way, this and that, then possibly he could have been a prophet. I mean, he could have possibly had some Jewish ancestry, because we believe that prophets have to be Israelites to some extent. But he didn't do that, and that's what makes him a false prophet according to Judaism.
Okay. Hey, well, I gotta go get my daughter from her friend's house, but it was good talking to you. If you're still on when I get back, I'll be more than happy to join again.
Oh, man, thank you. I appreciate
Yes,
it. All right, guys, let's keep it going. We are currently live on YouTube and TikTok. I figured out some weird way to make that happen. But, why only educate a small portion of my audience when I could do both major portions? Okay, no one can prove the Quran is not the word of God. Just that statement alone sounds, I don't even make that statement about the Torah. It just sounds primitive. Can you address those converts who hold allegiance to their rabbis acting as moles for new converts? I don't know what that means. Uh, talk about Deuteronomy chapter 13. What about Deuteronomy chapter 13? It talks about evil prophets, I think. Let's see. Anyways, guys, it's Saturday night. This is what we call Motzei Shabbos, or in Israel they call it Motzash. We typically say Shavua Tov, V'go Tevach, like have a good week, because the week begins today. The scroll of Abraham are older. I don't know what that means. Why do you say Judaism is better? Better than what? Also, Judaism isn't a proselytizing religion. I still got people uttering this nonsense that Judaism doesn't proselytize. It's true, Jews today don't proselytize. That doesn't mean that our source material, the Torah, the Talmud, Chazal, whatever you want to, text that we elevate as authoritative, in some way prohibit it. They don't. That means that Judaism is not against proselytizing. If you want to call this proselytizing, I mean, just letting people know, just in some way preaching what I practice, not telling people that you have to become Jewish. You don't have to become Jewish. You don't have to do anything. I mean, some guys stay home, they don't do crap all day. I'm just saying that if you're looking for some sort of ethical outlet in your life, Judaism might not. It might be it. Is this proselytizing? Anyways, I'm not scared of the word, okay? I mean, I'll say I proselytize just to piss my haters off. Let's do it. God loved Enoch so much, he took him up to heaven, to heaven, body and soul. Why did the Torah not include Enoch? So the Torah doesn't say that God took Enoch literally up to heaven. There's many commentators, for example, I believe that Ibn Ezra just there means that that's just a hyperbolic way of saying that Enoch passed away. That's it. So it seems, I'm not saying that every rabbi understood it like that, but if you take it literally, at least contextually, that's what happened. But someone decided to write the book of Enoch and claim that he wrote the book of Enoch, I guess when he was in heaven or something sort of silly. Anyways, Judaism doesn't require conversion to have, a relationship with God. That's actually wrong, okay? And I'll tell you why it's wrong. The way you have a relationship with God, at least according to the Jewish Bible, is by keeping his laws. That's the only way. So if you enter into a commitment of Torah observance, which is essentially what the Hebrews and the mixed multitude did on Mount Sinai, right? That's what made them Israel. That was their conversion event. So if you don't do that, then you can't have a relationship with God. That is what conversion is. Not what, see, people, it's interesting. Jews will in some way quote this, or I'm not sure what they're quoting. I mean, they just utter a silly statement that you don't need to become Jewish to have a relationship with God. The reason they say that is because they've corrupted conversion. Conversion nowadays, if it's possible, it's outlawed in around 90% of the planet. But if it's possible, it takes years and whatever. So then they feel like, yes, you don't have to go through this long conversion process to have a relationship with God. Okay, that's actually true. But the truth is, conversions are not supposed to take that long according to Jewish law. They're supposed to take really a few days. And I wish there's a rabbi on here that could come in here and challenge me on this, just because, not that I care about educating him, but I care about educating all you guys, because you'll be like, well, you say this, but other rabbis say something else. God, those moments are priceless when I could get an actual dialogue with a rabbi, but most rabbis do not want to debate me. So it's because it seems idiotic to say that in order to have a relationship with God, you have to go through a formal conversion process that takes years. This is why people just regurgitate that statement. If conversions were overnight or took a week or a month, then it wouldn't be no issue to say, yeah, just become Jewish. That's what keeping Torah really is. It has something to do with an ethnicity. But because we've corrupted conversion, then they don't want to make it seem like there's no hope for humanity, right? Without living either within the borders of Israel, America, England, Australia, and the handful of places where they allow conversions. So, this is how we got to where we are now, at least with these silly statements. Okay. Someone says, why do you deny 300 prophecies of Jesus the Messiah? This is not a show about me disproving Christian notions, but I have many times on my channel, just like look me up on YouTube, Asher Meza. I went through probably a quarter of these supposed prophecies about Jesus, and they're so silly. They're not prophetical at all. This is a challenge. Go on YouTube and type in 300 prophecies about Jesus, or prophecies about Jesus. I think there's around 350. And they're not prophecies at all. Just go one by one and ask yourself honestly. Okay? Honestly. Not just with this show. And anything you take serious in life, first you tell the truth, then you give your opinion. Ask yourself honestly, as you're reading them, does this constitute a prophetic statement? You have to be honest. And none of them are prophecies. It's like none of them. It was just, you know what? I don't want to use my computer because it's going to knock my YouTube connection. But just look it up. It's just they're silly. Okay, fine. Welcome, Jimmy Sanchez.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing
So
good.
first of all, I am not like anti-Judaism or So my questions were actually coming from like a sincere place.
Right.
But some of my Jewish friends have always told me that it's not a requirement to convert to Judaism to have a relationship with God, and that's why you don't see Jewish people proselytizing or going out like door to door converting, because it's not necessary, and
Right.
that's pretty much like why would anyone go out and choose to convert and take on the hardships and the extra laws and covenant, the 613 laws and commandments that unnecessarily, they're Jewish because they were born that, you know what I mean? And, through their mother, but it's not a requirement to have that relationship. So why go take on an extra, if there are multiple pathways to God? Is kind of and so that's what I've always heard. But I also say if you talk to 5 Jews, you get 6 different answers. So I don't know.
Yeah. So that's not so much the case in the religious world. People who say like, was it 2 Jews, 3 opinions? It's typically in the secular Jewish world. Most Orthodox Jews kind of view everything pretty cookie cutter. So I'll tell you the standard Orthodox understanding, which contradicts that, even though they'll make that statement over and over, but amongst themselves, when we learn Torah in general, like in any yeshiva, they'll say that a Gentile at least has to keep the 7 laws of Noah in order to have some sort of relationship with God or to be validated by God. This is what 99.9% of Orthodox Jews believe. So that is completely the opposite of saying that a Gentile could have a relationship with God any way he essentially sees fit, right? It's not if you're in the 7 Noahide laws according to colloquial Judaism. Now, the truth is that itself is not a concrete statement, but this is what most people say. The reason I say it's not a concrete statement is because there's many rabbis in the Talmud who disagreed with that. Some held, I would say around 50% of them held, that if a Gentile kept certain laws, because some say 7, some say 30, I mean, they can't really agree on how many, that he would be called the Chasidei Umat Ha'olam, that these individuals will be the righteous, the pious peoples of the world, and they will get a Chelek Olam Haba, like a place in the world to come, right? But half of them said no, like Beit Shammai said no. So even with the standard Orthodox opinion, which I feel is pretty baseless, their source material also says that a Gentile can't have a relationship with God unless he goes through our system, and our system includes the 7 Noahide laws. Now, I'm not telling people here to be Noahides. I mean, I think the Noahide system or the 7 laws belong in the Bronze Age. Okay, Christians and Muslims keep a lot more than 7 laws. I think it's very primitive to assume that anyone could be considered righteous, at least nowadays, by only keeping 7 laws. But this is just what is typically taught. So I don't know if that.
I have a question.
Yes, welcome.
Hi, I'm Deshaun. So I have a question about the Hebrew Israelites. So the African Americans and the that are claiming to be the lost tribes of Israel. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with them. So, the average Black Hebrew Israelites, and for those out there, I have to plug in my channel a little bit. On YouTube, just type in Rabbi Shemeza Black Hebrew Israelites, and I've made probably around 8 videos. In my opinion.
Oh, so you believe in that?
No, I don't believe in it. I've made videos dismembering their ideology. But I can tell you what they believe. They believe, kind of in a silly manner, where they believe that the 12 tribes are split amongst Dominicans, Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Seminole Indians, and a handful of other people. The reason they feel that is because there was a Black Hebrew Israelite, I believe in the 70s, the late 70s or early 80s, who had a video.
Yep.
His name was Ari. That these are the actual lost tribes. And since then, they just ran with it. And they stand in Times Square and in many places with a billboard telling you every one of those tribes and who are they, right? Like my family's from Colombia. And they'll say that I'm a Hebrew Israelite because it's interesting. My name's Asher. And they believe the tribe is Asher comes from Colombia. Yeah, and what makes them bigoted and racist, in my opinion, is that they believe that you cannot convert to Judaism, that it's something that you're born into, and that's what makes it bigoted. I have no issue with a Black individual claiming to be an Israelite. I have absolutely no issue. The problem I have is when they say that if you're not from one of these groups, you cannot become one of us. That means you are. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that insight. Can I hear a lot of folks talking about this, and it's really huge right now. Especially sweeping across the Black community, African American community, with the huge lie. And a lot of people are being misled, and it's pretty sad. People are changing their whole lives to fit this narrative. So I just think that's pretty sick. So yeah.
I agree, and I was an assistant chaplain I was a volunteer pretty much in Petersburg Federal Prison, and they're taking over. In the prisons, forget about it. For our Yom Kippur service, we have 17. And if we don't defeat this ideology now, they're going to hurt us in the future. They've been hurting us. There's a lot of.
I'm gonna. This may be a little bomb drop, but I'm atheist.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's me. I'm more of a scientific person. I follow science, and so yeah, I hold zero belief in any religion. If you look at all religions, all of it over thousands and thousands of years, it's really done nothing, no good for humanity. None, no good
really?
For humanity.
That's are you saying? How is that even? Okay, so I teach the opposite, actually, and I believe at least the Jewish Bible has helped civilize this planet, and I think more people have died in the last 150 years because of atheistical movements than have died under the hands of religious Christians.
So when you say atheistical movements, what do you mean by that?
Well, specifically communism, specifically, but not excluding those individuals from Germany. All these. There's a lot of things I can't take because I don't want to get this. Taken down. But yeah, around 150 million casualties are the results of people like Pol Pot Mao Zedong, North Korea, Stalin, and on and on.
Right. So I hear you. I guess I kind of don't want to go further into that. I mean, because it all tends to heritage, right? It's all just people protecting their heritage.
No, not at all.
And
Here, look, I converted to Judaism. I converted to Judaism 20 something years ago. This I have no turtle in this race when it comes to making things about pedigree. I'm talking about ethics. What actually makes people better on this planet? Atheistical pursuit?
right, and so yeah, I don't think you need a Bible or a book that we can't even prove that was left here by God to tell you how to be a good human being.
Right.
So for me,
Possibly. Although you have no evidence throughout history of a functioning ethical society that has been allowed to reinvent the wheel ethically that didn't leave a trail of carnage.
Hey, Rabbi.
Yeah.
I just want to point out to his statement about heritage. There is a big difference between ethnically Jewish people and religiously Jewish people, right? So it's not protecting just a heritage, or it's not just a heritage or an ethnicity, right? It's also the religious component as well, right?
That's the only component I'm defending.
No, agreed. I just was
Yeah,
just to his point that it's not just a heritage. It's, because you can convert or revert or
right.
So
Yeah. I'm only defending ethics here. Now, do religious people do horrible things? Absolutely. Just like atheistical people, there are many of them that are beautiful. But in the
right, because we're all animals, right? And so that's just our nature, right? So it doesn't matter if you're an atheist, if you're a believer or non-believer. It doesn't matter. People do horrible things, right? We're all just animals.
I mean, that shows that you're an atheist. I think we're more than animals. But that itself is a personal belief that I use faith to come to. More good on this planet, atheistical individuals or religious individuals? At least ethical Christians or ethical Muslims. That's a question.
Well, so is that saying that? And first of all, I'm religious, so is that saying that
That to me, that it no longer becomes good.
can we say like S8 or something else? I don't want to get Rabbi.
Yeah. Let's be mindful that we get kicked off of this platform for no reason. I get your argument, one typically made by atheists, but a second ago, I acknowledged that there's atheistical people who do good things on this planet, and people are not harming other people in the name of Jesus. Which, I mean, the reason I'm mentioning Jesus is because you're talking about the.
But they are. How many times has a country been bombed because they thought their God should told them to do so?
So I said specifically, name of Jesus. Since the Crusades, I can't think of any state mandated. Man, it's frustrating to have to filter every word, but yeah, no, everyone's a mixed bag. So in life, we have to ask, what does for good, and the choice is typically between what's good and what's better, and not between what's utopian and what's horrific. And the idea that you can acknowledge that religious people do more good than other people who don't daily try to challenge your nature, I think you're not being honest.
I have to beg to differ. I'm telling you, yeah, I don't see any good that they do.
So
It's like a cult. It's like you have to go to the church. You have to do all this just for them to help you. I mean, they're not out here just helping folks. You know, if
yeah.
that makes sense.
So I think you are what would be classified as a wounded theist instead of an atheist. So you have some sort of chip on your shoulder. I acknowledge that there's good things that come from atheists. I just think that there's better things, and there's more ethics is a lot more consistent among religious people who try to adhere to what they consider to be a moral code than someone who just goes by what his heart tells them is right and wrong. I just feel, whether it might be false, right? I'm saying that Christianity, Judaism, Islam might be completely false. However, we still do more good.
Can we go back? I had a question originally. So, brother, or Rabbi, originally, I had said that I had been told by that Judaism preached that there were many pathways and you didn't have to convert. But then you had kind of came back and said, well, if you follow Judaism, strictly, are you saying? Because I know that there's like Orthodox, then there's conservatives and reforms, and it seems like they each have their own level of adherence or observance of the laws, and kind of preach the sim like, well, I'm not gonna. It's up to me to find my path to God. Type is what I've kind of felt that each person that I spoke to had said that's like their version of Judaism. Is that kind of the general consensus, or is it really just the Orthodox strict adherence?
So it depends who you ask. I mean, as an Orthodox Jew, I'm not gonna. Okay. Orthodox Jews will not walk into a Reform synagogue and nor a conservative synagogue. Typically, I mean that's the typical attitude, and would they view that as Judaism light? In other words, will acknowledge that Orthodox Jews didn't invent these laws. They just feel that these laws are a bit outdated, and they feel that you should change the religion to fit the times and not the other way around. So I know that's something that doesn't exist in other belief systems. Within Christianity, I believe almost any denomination feels that they're following the path that the correct path that Jesus wanted them to follow. But Reform and conservative Jews will acknowledge that what they're actually practicing is Judaism light. Like, oh, we don't really have to do that. We don't really believe in that, this and that. So it's a weird phenomenon amongst the Jewish people, and it's tied to the idea that we're partially there's an ethnic component to our people. So it's a shame to even consider, someone who's not religious as part of a religion, but heck, you don't even have to believe in God to be Reformed, unfortunately. So yeah, here, welcome Chronically Aliyah.
I'm gonna drop down, Rabbi, so you can have other people up.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping.
Thank you, brother.
So,
Yeah, I'm out too. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Biwa.
I wanted to acknowledge too, with the conversation around ethics, it's really important that not you personally, but people understand that you can absolutely be an ethical person without religion, but it's also not okay to not acknowledge where those ethics came from.
Mm.
And so for people who are Jewish like we are, we're not following mitzvot because it's something that we're going to gain something out of it ourselves. It's that we believe that these are ethical decisions that will make this world a better place. And so it's a lot of these conversations around ethics. Those ethics came from Judaism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in terms of atheistical people being ethical, it's going to be a lot of hit and miss because they don't have a concrete set of laws or a concrete standard to like for what's ethical or not. It's kind of hard. For themselves, they can create a law, but it's kind of hard for them to try to influence another atheist on why their system is better than having no system, or I guess that would be against an anarchist. They can't. So in terms of being consistently ethical or more consistently ethical, I think the ribbon or the trophy would go to religious people, i.e. Muslims and Christians, who have some sort of ethical standard. But I'm not trying to argue for the existence of God here. I'm trying to argue for the necessity of God and how believing in God makes you a better person, and how there are redeemable qualities in religiosity, which should be enough for someone, like you said, to at least pay tribute to where their values actually come from, whether they believe in God or not. And that's the Bible. I've seen this in the world a lot. In the Jewish world, there's parents who send their kids to religious schools, even though they don't believe in God, just because they know, in terms of development, in terms of purpose, to give a child nothing, to have them in some way reinvent the wheel ethically for themselves, is very problematic. But studies alone show that religious children who actually fear a God and try to adhere to some standard and don't just give in to any hedonistic desire, they do better, at least early in life. Right? And just to deny that, just because you happen to have a chip on your shoulder, I constantly say that religiously healthy people should start identifying as optimistic agnostics. Agnostics, why? Because we can't really prove that God exists. We have evidence for his existence. Like atheists can't prove that God exists. They have evidence that possibly there is no God, just because they essentially don't know. But we know that it's healthier to believe like there is a God, specifically the God of the Bible. There's no point even believing in God if he's not a good God, or he give you a higher standard to aspire to, than not believing in anything. Right? I mean, look at Antifa. Look at all these people destroying because they feel like they're a piece of cosmic garbage. They have no purpose in this planet. And I want to be with the group that does more good, even though I happen not to be convinced of all their ideas. That's it. So it's basically good ideas defeating bad ideas. And yeah, so I think this is the best approach, and this is how we're going to win this battle. I constantly see Christians and Muslims out here. I mean, I can't say Jews because there aren't too many religious Jews who have TikTok lives, trying to convince atheists on the most trivial notions, or via the most trivial notions. Right? The way you convince someone outside of your religion that your religion is true is with ideas that you can both relate to. And that's ethics and society, what makes the world a better place. It's the best argument you could use.
And I totally agree. Like for me, example, I am a convert. I would consider myself, we jokingly call it conservadox, because we don't have an Orthodox community here, and so I attend, conservative. And my official conversion was through conservative. But I lean more Orthodox on just about everything. But I grew up in a Mormon household. And so I don't believe that as a Jew, I am more ethical necessarily than my Mormon parents, because I see them with the same ethics that I have. Does that make sense? They are still trying to help people and be kind and good and doing all those things. And I think that the fighting between religions with similar ideals on ethics causes more harm than good, because if we all kind of banded together and put our differences and beliefs aside and focused on the ethics, we would have a lot more good happen. But at the same time, I also see in, extreme right wing where their quote unquote ethics are physically hurting people. And so that ends up being a kind of contention as well between faiths.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Wait, hold on one second. All right. Are you done, Chronic? Before I let him speak? Okay, thanks. All right. Here, go ahead.
Hi.
Okay, so I have a question, yeah?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have a question. I think the voice is a little bit delayed, but I have one Jew told me, one Jew on TikTok, he told me that if you are no matter if you believe in Judaism, you will go to heaven eventually. So, is that true or not?
I disagree with that idea, although there's many Jews who believe that.
Okay, so there are different opinions there.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you believe that
You
you have
meet
to.
two people who have three opinions.
So
Sorry?
it's a Kabbalistic understanding that's held by groups like Chabad that every Jew is going to be saved. Let's say. I mean, it makes a statement in the Jewish Bible that all of Israel will have a place. Well, it says all of Israel will be saved, like, and that's where it says that all Jews, yeshem chelek leolam haba, like they'll all have a place in the world to come. That's something to be taken literally. I mean, it means Jew means that you're living by some religious standard, but this is not the way Kabbalists understand it. Where they understand it that every Jew, because they believe in this idea called the Jewish soul, not special, not necessarily Torah observance, that they're all that the wicked ones will have to go through some sort of cleansing process, really a form of purgatory, which is Gehenna for up to 11 months. But after that, they're all going to go to heaven or be allowed in the world to come. So I'm just being honest with all the different opinions.
Okay, so you don't believe that everybody goes to the paradise.
No, I'm not even convinced fully that there's a paradise. I mean, because the Bible doesn't mention one, but I think that if there is one, God is going to reward those who keep His commandments. And I would say around 90% of the Jewish world does not live a Torah-based existence, like a biblical-based existence. So they, if there is an afterlife, they're not going to.
So you believe in the hell, right? Hell.
Our Bible doesn't mention heaven or hell. I personally,
Gehenna is hell, brother.
no, I mean not in Judaism. I mean I know. Okay, so the word Gehinom in Hebrew, the actual word is Gei Ben Hinnom, which means the valley of the son of Hinnom. It's really a place outside of the walls of Jerusalem. Then later on, the Jews.
Brother, sorry that I interrupt you, but
Yeah.
they named that place after Gehenna. It doesn't mean that is the place referred to in the Torah. That's not true, brother.
I mean, I just told you where the word came from. Gei Ben
I
Hinnom. It means the valley of the son of Hinnom. It doesn't. I mean, why would they? You'd have to show me in the Bible that where it says. I mean that Gehinnom or Gehenna is hell.
brother, yeah, because we also have that word in
No,
listen. So
Islam.
before that was named. So before the valley was named after Gehenna, before that the word already existed. You know.
Of course, because Islam is from 1,300 years ago.
1460.
1,400, fine. So Jews, yes, Jews believe that Gehenna or Gehinnom means hell. Jews believe that, but the Bible doesn't say that. And the reason Muslims believe it is because Islam came out of Judaism, essentially. Virtually every Islamic idea has Jewish roots to some extent. I know you believe it predates Judaism, but historically, this is how most people understand it.
Brother, we believe that every prophet that was sent was from God, so of course it's gonna be having the same roots and the same concepts because eventually it's all prophets from the same God. So it would be strange if they all had different concepts, you know.
I'm not
But
attacking.
I'm saying okay, you said it has same roots, so I'm saying it would be strange if it had different roots, right?
Yeah, okay.
You understand what I'm
There's
saying?
also a teaching of the righteous Gentiles, the Noachid, that as long as Gentiles follow the 7 laws of Noah, that they will also have a place in the world to come, in Gan Eden. And so that's not necessarily held by all Jews, but that is a common Jewish teaching, that that righteous Gentiles will also have a place in the world to come.
So that's not in the Bible, but it's a rabbinic idea. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Let me ask you a question. Before you came on the show, did you ever hear of the idea of somebody becoming Jewish?
you talk to me?
Yes.
Before I come to this platform, you asked me if I think about somebody becoming a Jew?
I mean, did you know that someone could become Jewish, or does someone only have to be born of a Jewish mother to be considered Jewish?
I don't know. Some say you have to be born, some say you can become.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right, so you heard both, because most Muslims here have never heard of the idea. So it is a real thing in Judaism that you could convert to Judaism. So in case you ever wanted to, you, my friend,
brothers, listen. If you had the right religion, yeah, if you people knew what was good, then why you people go worship the calf? Brother, can you explain to me?
oh, we're a mixed bag. Just like there's beautiful Muslims and there are horrible Muslims. I mean, just like there's beautiful Christians and there's horrible Christians, there's beautiful Jews and horrible Jews. We're a mixed bag of peoples. I would say that with the least, right, the least of of the issues that Israel had to deal with in the Bible, it doesn't compare to how unethical Muslims have hurt this planet. Unethical. I'm not saying that you are this type of Muslim, but you do acknowledge that groups like ISIS behaved a little worse than just worshiping a cow, correct?
Brother, listen. So, if talking about Muslims doesn't clarify anything, you know. So you acknowledge that that is wrong, right?
Yeah.
You don't. You must not forget. You must not forget that they have witnessed Moses part the sea. If anything would make man believe, then it's this occasion, yeah. So they walk and they are just freed from Pharaoh, and they walk through the sea miraculously, and they come across and they do a worship a golden calf. Brother, that is the most sick thing you can do. You cannot
What
hide.
what happened to those people?
I don't know I don't know the end exactly anymore, but I know that they did that. You know.
Okay. So according to the story, everyone who did that was executed.
Yeah. Okay.
So then it's not all of Israel. I'm pretty sure there are things in Islamic history that you are not proud of, correct?
Okay. Also, but you do another crazy thing. Listen, bro. You also try to kill the prophets. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. That's even more sick, brother.
No, I understand, but I'm pretty sure that in the short time of Islam's existence, Islam has done far worse, correct, than the
No,
average in the name of Judaism.
no, brother. Okay, listen. It's not comparable. You as a small nation in Israel
Yeah.
has done more unjust if you compare them, because you're just a little country. You Muslims are so spread out through the world. So if you're gonna hold your view on them only, so what the media is portraying them as, of course they're gonna look bad. But if you look at Israel, how small as a country they are, and what they are doing, how much blood they have on their hands, then I think they are at least even with them, at least.
So Israel is not a religious country, but ISIS is a religious movement. You're talking about things that happened in the Bible. You could possibly name 5 or 6 prophets that were in some way persecuted by Jews. In life, you have to ask, what is better? not what is perfect. It seems that Jews have a better ethical track record. Religious Jews. I'm not saying the state of Israel, that's a secular country. What they do, they don't do it in the name of Judaism. Religious Jews on this planet have a smaller tyrannical footprint than Islam does. Just, and the only reason I'm mentioning it is because you mentioned.
Brother, you must compare also the numbers of people. Understand? If you also have 2 billion Jews, then you would have also 2 billion problems. Is what I'm trying to say. If you
Have. That's the thing. Islam is around, like you said, 1,400 years old. Judaism was 3,000 years old. I mean, how can you even compare?
Okay, so the Jews, how can you say they are better people if they try to kill prophets, brother? I don't understand.
Because the Bible says that the only reason God sends us prophets is because we're doing something wrong. So clearly, when God sends a prophet to Israel, Israel's not going to want to hear the words of those prophets. So they're not going to deal with them lightly. This is actually what Isaiah 53 is talking about, for the Christians who believe it's talking about like only Jesus. It's talking about the martyrs of God, the servants of God who are made to suffer by wicked Israel, not all of Israel, because their job is to get them to repent. And many times they did repent. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that as a whole, Israel was in some way harming the prophets. It's just wicked of it. I mean, and even when they did that, God still redeemed them once they repented. So every group does bad. The question is,
Okay, but they also killed them because they also said they were false prophets. So then the other question arises. So I think you guys also are not capable of guessing who is a prophet or not, because you also falsely accused prophets of being not a prophet before.
so that only happened once in the Jewish Bible.
Yeah, that's one time too many.
No, only one time.
It's one time too many, right?
Oh, well, hold on. I mean, but you're nitpicking. In the time of Jeremiah, there were prophets amongst the Jewish people contradicting the prophecy that Jeremiah was saying, and saying that Jeremiah's vision was incorrect. That's the only instance. Okay, Israel knew when they were falling away from God. It was no secret, and the prophet was just there reminding them what the Torah says: don't worship idols, don't do this and that. Okay, but the playbook hasn't changed. The laws didn't change. Why did we need the Quran now to, in some way, add different laws and bring more messengers? I don't get it.
Because the problems weren't solved, right?
The problem is never going to be solved. I mean, human.
No, but just like you said, the Quran is to clarify, and it also is in line with what you guys already had. So I don't see the problem. So that's another prophet you're trying to deny, right?
Oh yes, Muhammad.
Yeah. So
We deny because the job of the prophet is to bring us back to the Torah. Muhammad created a new Torah.
no, listen. It's not like that. You also listen. You denied the Messiah. You tried to kill the Messiah. You deny Muhammad. You deny the revelation of God. You also try to kill other prophets. So you have a whole lot of issues going on. It's my opinion.
So Jesus was Jewish. His followers were Jewish. There's
He was
many
Jewish, yes.
who supported him. So it's not that the Jews were in some way chasing Jesus down as a whole. He himself was Jewish. You can't blame the whole Jewish people. Yes, there were wicked Jews at that time, just like there's that we have them today. But there's
Okay, so you believe in Jesus?
No,
Why not?
I believe he was a nice person if he even existed. But I don't believe he's the Messiah, and I don't believe that he's God.
No, also don't believe he is God.
Okay.
And a human can never be God. That's nonsensical. That's just something made up by the Christians later. He never claimed that himself.
That's a statement of faith, right? I'm pretty sure if God wanted to, in some way, encapsulate a human being, he could.
I said no. So I tell you why.
Because the Quran tells essentially.
No, because one time Moses asked for to see God. Yeah, so Moses talked with God
Hmm.
before, and then he said, "So I want to see you, so that my heart be reassured." And then God replied and said, "If this mountain can carry my might, then you can see me." And that my mountain shattered before his eyes, and he fainted. And after he woke up, he said, "I believe there is no God and I am the there's no God but you, and I am the first that submits to you."
Right, and that story
So
run.
yeah, it's in the Quran. Yes,
That,
there is no story like that in the Torah.
yeah. So the way it appears in the Torah is that God tells Moses that no one could see my face and live, but then it says that God spoke to God face to face. It says uh, that he saw the back of his countenance. Um, I typically don't take an opinion on this, but if someone say that we know for a fact that God can encapsulate a man, and now it's two different things. God in some way encapsulating a man, and a man physically being God, like God is flesh and blood. These things are different notions. But I know that Islam practices what I consider cannibalistic monotheism. They've they've made the notion, they made it so difficult to be a monotheist that they exclude the two major monotheistic religions just because they think that we have a corrupted form of monotheism, and not because of ethical issues, which is really the only reason why you should exclude yourself from anyone on this planet.
I don't understand what you're saying, but can you repeat that? We are excluding monotheistic religion. Did you say that?
You've made it quite impossible for anyone to identify as a monotheist, because being a monotheist to a Muslim doesn't just mean that you believe in one God. It means that you have to philosophically dissect God from an Aristotelian perspective. That's what it means to be a monotheist to a Muslim. So if
What is Aristotelian? What did you say? What is that?
a lot of these notions of what God isn't was made famous by Aristotle, and Islam didn't just make Aristotle famous. All the major Greek writings were preserved mainly by Muslims. And there's many Jewish rabbis who also held like this. Maimonides, who lived in an Islamic society, ran with this notion. I agree with that, but I don't like it to be used to discourage people from remaining religious just because they happen to have a different understanding of the complexity of God's unity.
Okay, but I don't see. First of all, you said Islam. What accusation you made? You say Islam is excluding which people? I don't understand that one
No,
because
okay, let's go to the next question. Go ahead.
yes, brother. Listen. Oh, so if you guys try to kill the prophets,
Mhm.
you have seen many miracles. After that, you have committed the biggest crime in the religion,
Uh-huh.
and also I think killing a person, trying to kill a prophet, testify as
Mhm.
that would mean that you are totally off track, because somebody that is on the right track would never ever kill a prophet. I hope you can agree with that. So if you as a nation try to kill the prophets and witness all those miracles, and then also didn't keep your commandments, and then now all of a sudden you also try to deny Jesus as a prophet, as the Messiah, and also then the later prophet. So then then if you look at the line of at this line of thinking, so if you lose your logic, then we can think that you again mistaken, so that you again taken somebody that is the Messiah or a prophet again as not. So I think you guys do the same thing over and over again, you know.
So if you want me to make the claim that Jews are perfect, but you're not going to hear that on this show. There's, like I said, there's beautiful Jews and there's wicked Jews. There's beautiful Muslims and there's wicked Muslims. To say that because we've made mistakes throughout our history that in some way invalidates the Torah, I'm not here in some way proposing that the Jewish people are great, but that the Torah is great, and it's essentially the Torah that made the Quran. I mean, Muslims continue to sin even though they walked hand in hand with who you call a prophet. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, God could appear tomorrow, and the day after, the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims will still sin. The question is, do you challenge your nature against some code, against some standard? And that's what we're promoting here, the Torah standard, which is really where Islam got its ethics from. So I think that it would benefit you to first look into Judaism, which predated Islam, right? Whenever you're looking for a belief system, you shouldn't hop immediately into the copycat. You should look into what came
Brother,
from, assuming that,
brother, we know what kind of, we know that the Torah came before the Quran. We all know this.
okay,
But we also don't deny Moses as a prophet. That's the thing that you don't understand. You know, you guys like the Christians, they also take the Messiah and they deny Muhammad, so they are one step ahead. And then you have us who accept everybody that was sent by God. You know, it is not. Sorry.
it's actually not true, because you could say that you accept Moses, but you don't accept his prophecy as understood by Jews.
Okay, so what is this prophecy understood by Jews? Tell me.
You believe that the Jews corrupted the Torah.
No, I don't believe that. I believe, I don't know who did that, but can you give me the original Torah? If you can, I become Jew today.
I mean, can you give me the original Quran?
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't exist.
Why does it? Or do you know it? Did you investigate it?
Absolutely. What the
Okay.
oldest book is called the Birmingham Quran, and it's like just a few hundred years. There's no Quran from the time of Muhammad.
That the Birmingham fragments are from the dates back to the time of the Prophet. Did you not read that properly?
You just told me that because there is no original Torah, right? That
Yes.
this is why you're not going to become Jewish. There's no complete Quran. There's only fragments, and these fragments were found just a few hundred years ago. They're not from the time like of Muhammad, but yes, they're old. But that doesn't prove that the Quran is in some way complete, and you have the same Quran that Muhammad had. Correct?
Okay, but we have one that could be from this time. There are opinion differences about that. So there is a complete Quran that date at least 100 years after or until the time of the Prophet. But there are difference of opinions. So do you have a Torah that's also have
Wait,
similar qualities?
I have a question for you.
So yeah, okay, but brother, could he first answer that? Do you have a Torah that has the same qualities?
You're making the claim, and
Yeah, you're making.
Islam itself doesn't even meet that criteria. We believe that the Torah we have nowadays is or contains the same laws that were given to us by Moses on Mount Sinai, or through Moses on Mount Sinai. We
But
believe
how?
that. You
But
believe
how?
the Quran you
Yeah.
have today is the same one that Muhammad uttered. So what's the difference? It's
But brother, the difference is that we have more proof to it. So what's your proof for that? Do you have proof, or is it just a belief?
Wait. I have a question for you that's gonna discount that real quick.
Okay.
Okay. The words of the Quran, right, was given to Prophet Muhammad, right?
Brother, that's not the question, brother.
Wait,
That's,
it's gonna answer your question.
listen.
Hey, it's gonna
He
answer your
asked
question.
he asked me if I wanted to become a Jew.
Wait,
So
I heard everything.
I said I will become a Jew if you give me a Torah that's from Moses today.
Wait,
So that's the challenge. So give me the Torah.
wait. No. Wait. I'm asking you a question about the Quran first so that I could go into my answer for you.
Brother, the only thing that you can accomplish by that is making me a disbeliever. That's the only thing that you can accomplish by this way. So go ahead.
Wait, the only thing I could accomplish is what?
The only thing, if you can disprove the Quran, would only make me disbelieve it? I would not accept a book that is not dating back to the man that revealed it.
But you're already accepting a book that's dating to a man that didn't reveal it right now.
Yeah, I do. There is.
Okay, so then answer my question again. Who wrote the Quran?
It's not written. It's written by the companions because the
Exactly.
prophet
It's
was
written by the
illiterate.
companions of Muhammad, right? Not by Muhammad himself, right?
It's true. Yes.
Muhammad himself was illiterate. He couldn't read or he couldn't write. So if the
True.
four
Yes.
companions was writing his words, how did Muhammad check to see if his words were written correctly?
Because
How do
they
you know
were
that they weren't? Do you know that they weren't writing something different than what he was saying? How did he check? It's his words, no?
because it was recited.
It's a silly question, because you're in some way holding us by a different criteria than you hold your own belief system.
That's
I
not
never
true,
said,
bro.
you know,
It's not true.
if I would consider becoming Muslim, it wouldn't be on the basis that I found the same Quran that was written by someone who didn't know how to write or whatever. I mean, it's a silly reason. The Quran is around 13 to 1400 years old. The Torah was given over 3,000 years ago. Parchment wouldn't last that long. Now, we do have versions of the Torah that predate even Muhammad. So if it's historicity you want, we have the Septuagint.
It's not about that. It's the Septuagint. It's not. It's not in this original state. So listen. So I'm asking. I'm just asking. I'm asking.
And I
Do
answer.
you do you have scripture for me that we can know this was the revelation that was revealed by God, or do you just have translations that came hundreds?
We don't have a book that was written by Moses.
Yeah. So that's
But
the
I could wait. I could answer that also with your Quran, my friend. Check this out. We at least know for a fact that when Muhammad, right, was alive and the Quran was written, it says,
brother, this is not a
let
Quran.
me
This is not
answer
a
your
Quran
question, bro.
Torah.
Stop
No,
cutting me
no,
off. It's a
brother. Don't,
respect. You got your
we are
turn to
not in.
talk. Now it's my turn to talk.
Listen. There
Hey,
is no
bro. Hey,
times.
look, you're not
There
gonna
is
shut
no
me up, bro.
times.
You're not gonna shut
No,
me up. It's a respect thing.
I don't.
You spoke, and now it's
I
my
was
turn.
not even talking with you. You're just coming between us. What's
No, I'm
happening?
not coming between us. I have an answer
Yeah.
for you. I said.
No, but I didn't ask you anything,
But
brother.
I didn't say if you asked me. I'm still gonna say
Yeah.
it regardless.
No.
Bro,
Yeah.
don't try to shut me up. That's not gonna happen.
That's not what's happening.
Anywho,
I'm not even
what I'm
talking with
trying
you.
to say is this: we at least know that in the time of Muhammad,
Okay,
for sure, the
beautiful,
Torah was not
beautiful,
corrupted because Muhammad himself wrote
beautiful.
in the Quran, right? Wrote in the Quran that it says, believe in the books that came before, believe in the Torah, and believe the Injil. Yes? So we at least know that in the time of Muhammad, the Torah wasn't corrupted. We have a Torah that's older than that says the same words. That's the proof. That's the proof for you.
Brother, we were talking about accepting Judaism. So I
Yes.
don't know. Yes, so I don't know why you come between. I don't like
Because
the way
you're
you talk.
asking for an
You're making
uncorrupted
too much
Torah.
noise,
You're
brother. You're
asking for an
talking too
uncorrupted
loud.
Torah, my
You're
friend. You're
talking
being
so
dense.
loud. We are not in a discuss. We were just civil talking. Yes. Don't scream. Don't shout, please.
Okay, no problem. I won't scream and I
Yeah.
won't shout. I'll say
Yes, please.
again, we at least know for a fact that in the time of Muhammad, right, 600 to 600 and something, the Torah at that time was not corrupted because Muhammad himself said, all right, or the Quran itself says, believe in the Injil and believe in the Torah that came
It, do-
before. So we at least know 630
it does.
something
It doesn't
AD.
say that. It says that we believe in the books that came before. That's what it says.
Correct. So that
Yeah.
means that
It
at
does.
least at that
It
time
doesn't
it was correct.
say. It doesn't say that the books that you guys are holding are the true books that were revealed. Listen, I'll give you one example. The Bible, for example, because those are one of the books you're referring to. Yeah. So the Injil was also corrupted. If you ask me why, they believe in the Trinity, right? And they believe in concepts of Jesus being God. And that's also you have verses in the Bible that says Jesus was Almighty. So again, the Quran rejects this. So even if you're gonna have all that stance, it doesn't mean that the books. So I could also write a Torah right now, right? And I could say this is from Moses. That doesn't make the book from Moses, but the books that were revealed to Moses and Jesus, I believe that because I believe they were men of God. But I don't believe that you have that revelation in your hands right now. That's what I don't believe.
So if we don't have the revelation in our hands right now, why did Muhammad judge the Jews via their own Torah? He was
No,
judging by the corrupted book.
he's
The
not going
Jews.
to. He's not using law. He's holding us by a different standard. He holds his own belief system, which means that he's not really open to truth and change. I'm open to truth and change. I would convert to Islam tomorrow if it made me a better person. Okay, and I'm not converting to any belief system that someone claims to have. And yet, we have older versions than whatever any form of Quran or any manuscript that someone could reproduce regarding the Quran. Okay, but that's not a reason to convert to anything. I mean, you have the quote from Arabi, the Book of the Dead. Who cares about how old the book actually is? But does it make the world a better place? What
I'm
makes
I'm gonna answer that. It does matter because listen, if you're gonna say for example, if you're reading my book, but that book doesn't date back to me, but a few hundred years after me, yes, that is mine Jewish. He does believe that everybody goes to heaven. Hebrew Hammer. He told me that, but if you don't have a book that dates back to the person, then you cannot claim that it's from that person. So if the Torah doesn't date back to Moses, his time at least, then I think it's a wild claim to say it is the words of Moses and the revelation that came to him. I think that's wild because the book don't even go back to that time. I'm sorry.
it just sounds just a statement is silly. But like you said, Muhammad.
Why is that silly?
Why should I repeat this all over again? I mean, I think we should move to a different question. You're saying
Okay, we can move.
even a book, right? Unless he can prove for a fact that the person that it's named after, right, the law of Moses, wrote the book. It sounds silly. It whatever.
Why is that silly? Why is that silly though?
Because
Why
you
you
don't
think?
up to the same standard. That's the thing. For some reason, it's a standard that you use to justify not becoming Jewish, but remaining Muslim when there were different versions of the Quran. Uh, there were different versions of the Quran that even throughout Islamic history that they burned most of them just so they like one could remain. I mean, you're comparing apples and cupcakes here. This is what we're talking past each other. You're not really using logic, or you're using uneven scales. So I mean, that is the grounds for a terrible discussion.
No, it is not really because the Quran was compiled by the Sahaba, so the people that were surrounded by the Prophet, and for every verse that was written down, we have like for at least it was like two or I don't know two witnesses that were also surrounding the Prophet. So one of his how do you say that, Sahabas? I don't know the English word.
Okay.
Before they could write it down. So the Quran that were burnt that you're talking about that were Quran that people themselves wrote. Yeah. So they said that whatever you guys have. That is not true. We have compiled it in truth. So every other Quran that was compiled by any other person that did it on themselves, that was denied.
That
So
sounds
That's not true.
like an apology right
that
now.
is true. That is true.
Hey,
Okay,
how
so
many?
okay,
Which
okay,
when you're
so
talking about when
yeah,
you're
so
talking
tell
about the
me what's true
Quran,
then.
when you're talking about the Quran, which
Yeah.
version? There's so many different versions. You got to be
There
specific.
is one version.
No. There's the Hafs and the Warsh Quran, which have
So
5,000
that
different
that
words in
that
them.
that, that shows your ignorance. You just embarrass yourself by saying that
I
because
didn't embarrass me.
I'm gonna explain why. Because the Old Arabic, yeah, don't have
No.
Quran.
Today, the ones
Listen,
today. I'm
okay,
talking
I'm gonna answer that too. I'm gonna answer that too. If you know the dots
No,
above
not
the
the
arrow.
dots. The actual words. No,
Listen,
the actual
listen,
words.
listen, listen. Let me
But you're
finish.
talking
You
about
you keep
something different.
you
You're
keep
talking about something
interrupting
different.
me. If okay, but when I finish, then you can come and correct me. But if
But
you
you're not
keep
talking about
interrupting,
what I'm talking about.
but I do talk about because you don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm not talking
There
about
is
dots.
okay. You don't know what you're talking about
Hold on,
because you don't know the difference.
Pastor, I gotta come back. I can't turn on my camera for some reason. I'll come right back. I want to show this guy something. See what his gaslighting is all about.
He's trying to tell the different kirat. I'm explaining you this. If you take all the dots and the stripes,
Like, I'm tired of this actual discussion because we're not playing with equal scales here, and that's what's problematic. I never said become Jewish because I have a Torah scroll with Moses' signature on it. Okay, I mean, we believe that this book is supernatural, not because we can prove it was written by Moses. The ethics that appeared in that book surpassed any ethical.
okay. So we come back to the okay. We
No,
go back to that
this is an
standard.
argument. Yeah, but this is an argument that we can both appeal to.
Okay,
You telling me that you believe in faith, that you have a perfect Quran.
brother.
It's
Okay,
also
but first of all, somebody made a claim. I just want to correct that. First of all, what he's talking about is kirat. So if you have old Arabic and you take out, you know the Arabic language, you have dots and stripes behind them. In the old language, you didn't have them. So
Here's
if you
the
take out,
hops on the
if you
left.
if
Here's the hops
brother,
on the
you don't
left.
know what you talk about. You cannot even read Arabic, man.
It
Come
doesn't
on,
matter.
bro.
I can see. I
You
have
don't
eyes.
even know what
Here's
you
the
talk
hops.
about, brother.
Here's the hops. Here's the hops. Same
Oh
word,
man,
same verse. Here's the warsh. Completely different
brother,
word. The word is
I'm gonna
completely different.
explain you. I'm gonna
And there's
explain you, but you don't let me finish. No, you keep
no, because there's no
interrupting me.
explanation. The
I
words are different. It has nothing to do with
oh
vowels.
my
It's a
god.
completely different word.
But brother, we cannot discuss if you don't let somebody finish.
Go ahead, finish. I'll show all the different words while you're talking.
Oh, okay, but look
Words.
at the boat, but look at them both and take away the dots and stripe. They are both the same. But because people put those dots up, then it gives a different meaning also. Okay,
Mm.
that's something you don't know. You just talk about ignorance. You don't know this.
No. Here, this
Yeah,
says,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and this says right here,
I just explained
and
it, brother.
Ibrahim enjoined on his sons. And this one says, and Ibrahim instructed, made his son. It's different words. The words are actually different.
Brother, I'm telling you, if you do the stripes different at a different
It's
place, the words become different.
so the
That's
words
what
are
I'm
different.
trying to say.
Wait, so they're different.
No, you have. If you take the way the
You
stripe,
acknowledge
the,
they're different.
no, brother, no,
They're
brother.
not
You
different.
just, but brother, no, because the Quran was not refilled with stripes. You have to take them all, strip them all away, and they will be the
If you
same.
pick up a Torah anywhere in the world right now, and you go open Torah scrolls, they're exactly the same to all Torahs
You
anywhere
know,
else in the world. If you pick up the Hafs and the Warsh Quran, you're going to have thousands of words that are different from each other. How is that possible?
you still don't want to understand. That's the
No, I
issue with you.
understand clearly.
Okay, so what did I explain? It is
You
not the
explained that it
word.
has to do with the vowels. This has nothing to do with
Yeah,
vowels. The words are
yes,
different.
it has because the vowels makes the
So they're
word
different.
different.
So they're different.
Yeah, they are different. Yeah,
Okay,
because
so they're not the same.
people made, brother, the Quran that was revealed by God is without stripes. It stripped them away, and you have the same.
So people changed
Okay,
it.
people, the stripes is changed.
How do you
Yes,
know? You have the original Quran?
no, but because the stripes is
Do
later
you have the
invention.
original Quran to compare it to?
Listen to me. The
Do you
stripes.
have the original Quran to compare it
Yeah,
to?
yeah. We have a Quran that we
Thank,
believe that
thank
goes
you
back
for
to that time.
accepting it.
Yes.
Really? What's the oldest Quran that we have in the world today?
Yeah, it's believed to be 13 to 1400 years old.
What's the name of it?
Yes. Okay, 1 second.
It's called the Birmingham Quran, and it's dated 60 to 70 years after
It's
Muhammad
it's
died.
not it's
And
not
it's
it's
not the
not the
same as the
Birmingham
Quran used
Quran.
today.
It's not the Birmingham Quran. And the
Yeah, it
Birmingham
is.
Quran.
The Birmingham Quran is the oldest dated Quran that
I
we have today. Surah
listen.
548. We sent to you, Muhammad, the
Brother,
scripture with the truth.
it doesn't listen. If
Surah 548.
it's not
We sent to you.
even talking with you. You're just making accusation and you over
No,
talking
this
me.
is the Quran right here,
You're
brother.
over
Here's your
talking me,
holy
but
Quran.
you're over talking me.
Here's your holy
You're just
Quran.
putting.
We sent to you, Muhammad, the scripture with the truth, confirming all the scriptures that came before and protecting it. So he was right. Ali Baba was right. At the time of Muhammad, at the time of the Quran, the Torah was confirmed and protected. So that means it must have been changed from the 7th century to now,
No,
except we
brother.
have Torahs from before the 7th century that matches up. So you have to tell me, if you're going to make an accusation, You
Yeah,
have
but
to
you're
say,
jumping.
I
You're
have a
jumping.
Torah
You're just
here.
jumping from
I have a Torah
topic
here
to
that I can
topic.
compare to a Torah now, and I can show you the differences, and you can't do that.
You're just jumping from topic to topic. If I'm gonna
No,
try
very
to answer
simple.
this, you're gonna cut me off again and open another topic. I don't know what your style is, but this is not no way to discuss, brother. Yeah, you also told me that every person go to heaven, right? To afterlife, not heaven, to the afterlife, right?
I didn't say every person. I said
You
most
said
every person.
you said every.
I said most every person. There are certain people who's so evil that they don't
Hello,
go.
hello,
Oh, did he leave?
hello. Thank you for accepting.
Come on, I keep on. I mean, it's
Hello,
just because
thank you.
same thing. It's like it's such a primitive argument. It's a primitive argument.
It's
You
a
don't have
primitive people. That's what you have to understand. It's a primitive
no.
people.
I get it. I don't do it to try to convince him. I do it to help people learn, just so they realize. You know what? I'm open to converting to any belief system. This is, I mean, I'm theologically suicidal here. Okay, I want to follow the right path. I've been Jewish for over 25 years. I don't think I'm going anywhere. But I sincerely want to compare apples to apples. But when someone doesn't have a Quran signed by Moses, just like I don't have a Torah scroll signed by I guess the Quran signed by Muhammad and me, by having a Torah scroll signed by Moses, it washes itself out. This is not why someone becomes, enters, or like remains a religious entity. It's a stupid argument. But anyways, here
Well, it's also
Thank you.
easy. It's also easy to
Thank you for
disprove
accepting.
because the Quran we have today is not in the order that God revealed it. It was put in order by men.
Hebrew Hammer, can we have some discussions, please?
You can do your best.
I have a question to you, my friend.
Okay.
Firstly, to start with, peace and blessings to all of you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for accepting the invitation. My question to you is, what was the religion of Abraham? What was the religion of Moses? What was
Not
the
Muslim.
religion of Noah? Let me finish, please. Once again.
Not Muslim.
Let me say something, please. Let me finish my question,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll give you an opportunity to speak. You are just keep on talking without any evidence, right?
Mm-hmm. You Muslims are good at providing evidence. This will be fun. Go ahead.
Do you know the meaning of Muslim?
No, you're going to tell me that it has something to do with, let me guess,
No.
submitting to God, right?
Are you American? Are you American?
Does it have anything to do with submitting to God? Which, by the way, it used to be
No,
surrender to God, and then you guys changed it.
Let me say something, my friend. Are you American?
I am. God bless.
Okay, if you are American, then you please listen my statement with open mind, because
Well,
Americans has got
I'll
too much
listen, but it
hatred.
won't be with an open mind.
Americans has got a too much hatred against Islam. Okay, so what I'm saying, just speak listen to me with open mind, my friend. Okay,
The mind won't be open.
and then you will be
Go ahead.
okay. So do you know the meaning of Muslim?
It means submission to God. Go ahead. Keep going.
No. Do you know the meaning of Islam?
Submission to God.
Submission to God.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. What was the religion of Abraham? What was the religion of Moses? What was the religion of Noah, David, Jacob, Zechariah? Peace be upon all of them. What was the religion of them?
Not Islam.
You are coming straight on to, you don't know the meaning of Islam, and you are saying not Islam.
Well, yes, I'll tell you
to,
exactly
you
why I
to,
say that. It's very easy.
If you are here on the platform, my friend.
You can't be
No,
a
let
religion.
me say.
Well, no, you asked
If
me
you
a
are here
question.
on this
Now let me
platform,
answer.
if you
asked me a question.
are here on the platform,
You asked me a
if you are
question.
here on
Now
the
let me answer.
platform, if you are
asked me
here
a
on the
question, then let me
platform,
answer. No,
if
asked
you are
me a
here on
question.
the platform,
Listen,
and you are
you asked me a
debating,
question. Let me answer. Let me answer.
no,
Let me answer. You asked me a question.
you are debating.
They couldn't be a religion that didn't exist.
If you are here on this platform
They
and
couldn't
you
be
are
a religion that
debating
didn't exist.
on religion, you need to have a knowledge of the religion. You need to know the basics. You don't know the basics, and you are here arguing on Quran,
Sure, no problem.
Judaism,
Did
Christianity.
Abraham do the Shahada?
See,
Did Abraham do
Judaism.
the Shahada?
See, Abraham.
When did Abraham do the Shahada? Show me where.
The religion of
When
Abraham
did he do
was
the
oneness.
Shahada?
Let me say something, my friend.
When did he do the
Listen
Shahada?
to me with open mind,
When
okay?
did he do the Shahada?
Do you know the meaning of Shahada?
It's the silly little prayer you guys have to say before you
That,
convert. I know
no,
what
no,
it
you
is.
see, this is the problem with you guys,
Did
yeah?
he do the
This is
Shahada? Yes or no?
see, this is the problem.
Did he
So
make
much
Hajj?
hate,
Did he make
so much
Hajj?
hate in mind and
Did he
heart.
do
You
Zakat?
have
Did he make
your
Hajj?
heart.
Did he do Zakat?
You
Did he pray
you
5 times a
people
day?
are
Just
people
answer the
like
question. Just
no, no,
answer
no,
the
no.
question.
You are beating around the bushes.
I'm
I'm
not. I'm
here to
asking you
ask you
direct
the question.
questions. I'm asking
I'm
you
here to
direct
ask you the
questions.
question. I'm here
Did
to
he
ask
do
you
the
the question.
Shahada?
Do you know the meaning of Shahada?
Don't care. Did he do it?
I'm asking you, do you know the
I
meaning of
know that
Shahada?
doing the Shahada is a part of being a Muslim. It's one of the 5 pillars. So tell me, did he do it or not? Did he do the Shahada?
You stupid, ignorant man.
Did he do
You
the
don't know
But
the
why
meaning
don't
Shahada?
of
you answer the
Shahada.
question?
All right,
Just
all right.
answer
You
the
don't know the
question.
meaning of Shahada.
Just
All
You
answer
don't
the
know the meaning
question.
of Shahada. And
Just
you are
answer the
asking me.
question.
So this
Yeah,
is
no,
more.
no. You don't know the meaning of Shahada. You don't know the meaning of Muslim. You don't know the meaning of Islam.
What
And
is
you
the
are
meaning of
here
Muslim?
sitting over. Okay, tell
What
me.
is the
Tell me the
meaning of Muslim?
tell me the meaning of Judaism.
Judaism is an English word.
At that time there was no English, you idiot. At that time
At
there
that
was a
time there was
Hebrew
no
language.
Judaism. At that time there was no Judaism either.
That is why I'm trying to explain. You please listen to my conversation,
Can you tell me
and
what
I will give
Islam
you an
means,
opportunity
please?
to speak.
Can you tell
I
me
will
what
give you an
Islam means,
opportunity to
please?
speak.
Guys, let
I'll
me
give
Tell
you
me
an
what Islam
opportunity to
means.
speak.
Can you just tell me what it
All
means?
right. See, I'll explain you. Okay.
It's very
From
simple. It's one
Adam,
sentence. Go.
one second, my friend. Okay. There was only a one unseen God. There is only one unseen God. Okay. The religion of Adam till Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There were many messengers and prophets came on the face of earth. Their message was to show the guidance for mankind. The message was to show the guidance for mankind. And their submission was oneness. We don't need to go into Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, this and that. Don't go into all these things, chapters. Okay? Their message was oneness. And you are here saying it, you don't know the meaning of Judaism. You are saying it's an English word. You need to understand there was a Hebrew language.
Hold
Okay.
on. Hold
Okay.
on.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. How come, one, it says in the Quran that Muhammad was the first Muslim? Two, secondly, Abraham didn't submit with God. He wrestled with God.
All
He
right.
didn't submit.
His
He wrestled.
submission was oneness. His
No,
submission
he
was
didn't
oneness.
submit. He didn't submit.
Okay, tell me one thing. I give you one answer. What was the religion of Adam and Eve?
They didn't have a religion. There was no religion back then.
So who has created Adam and Eve?
God.
Thank you very much. So what was the religion of Adam and Eve?
Okay. Let me explain this to you, because here's a
Oh,
problem.
man.
Here's a problem.
Who-
Here, I'll
who
answer.
Created,
Wait, you
who
asked me a
created,
question. Let me
who
answer.
created
Let
Adam and
me
Eve?
answer.
My
You asked me a
question to
question.
you
Let
is
me
who
answer.
created
You
Adam and
asked
Eve?
me a question.
My question to you is who
Ask
created
me a
Adam and Eve?
question. Let
Wow,
me answer.
user
Who
8219.
No,
created
hold on,
Adam and
bro.
Eve?
Let me answer, and then I'm going to
Relax.
jump out of here. Let me answer. I'm going to jump out of here because, quite frankly,
Don't
having
jump
discussions
here
with
and there.
Muslims
Answer to
is
me.
the
Who
biggest waste
created
of time on
Adam
the
and
face
Eve?
of the earth. Okay, here we go.
Who created Adam and Eve?
Let me explain to you something.
Why did the Jewish people trying to kill the Jesus?
Okay, great.
Why?
Great. Here we go.
Why the
Here we go.
why
Here
the
we
Jewish
go.
people?
Here we go.
Why
Here we
the
go.
Jews was hunting? You see, you run away, you rat.
I'm not running away. Rat?
You
Oh, that's
answer
what.
me,
Oh, that's what it
you
says in the
answer me,
Quran.
you
The
rat.
Jews are
Why
rats,
did
right?
the Jewish was trying to kill the Jesus? Tell me, you rat.
That's
Tell
User,
me, why the Jewish wants
you
to kill
are.
the Jesus?
Your
He
religion
was a
sounds
You need
messenger
to
lovely.
of God.
stop
He
Your
was
smoking
sent by
whatever
the
religion
you're
God.
sounds
smoking.
His
absolutely
submission
lovely.
was oneness. He was believing in oneness. And you Jewish people wants to kill the Jesus. Why you Jewish people wants to kill the Jesus? Because his message was oneness.
Do you think you guys are so angry because you get circumcised when you're
Because
13 years
you
old?
people,
You think
you
that's
know
why
what
you all
you
are so
people,
angry?
you know what you people doing it is? You people spreading the hate on the face of earth. You people are killing the innocent people on the face of earth. You people claim to be the leaders of the world, but no, you people are the criminals of the world.
You sound
Okay?
jealous.
Hey, did we fly any planes into buildings?
Now you answer me why the Jewish wants to kill the Jesus. You answer me.
I'll answer you. Okay?
No, hold on. No.
Yeah.
No, there's no point with this
Answer me,
guy. You don't
answer me.
understand.
No, I
answer
just
me,
want to
you
say
rat.
one thing. I
Why
find
they,
it, I find it
why the
funny
Jewish
how
people wants to kill why the Jewish people hate the,
0.2%,
why the Jewish people hate
0.2% of the
Jesus when
population.
Jesus
I just,
when Jesus
user,
was born in
relax.
Judaism? Why the
User,
Okay, all right. Guys, I'll let you back on in a just because it's kind of messing up the style of the show.
I'm sorry for raising my voice on your channel.
No problem.
I apologize for raising my voice, sir. But these people are hypocrites. See, he ran away as soon as I said why Jewish people hate Jesus.
I kicked him out. I'll bring him on later. Okay. I mean, he's a friend of mine. And look, let's have a dialogue. You and I. You're
Thank you, sir.
Kada Hafiz, Jay Javan, Jay Kistan, Jay Bharat. Where are you from?
Sir, I born in India.
So?
I'm from Melbourne. At the moment, I live in Melbourne.
All right, so I'm speaking in Hindi to you. Or
Yes,
Urdu / the same thing.
Urdu and yeah, Hindi.
Yeah.
See, I would like to say something.
Okay.
The religion, all the religions on the face of earth, yeah. Keep the religions on the side. There is only one unseen God. What God is saying, love the creation, Creator will love you. We should not hate with human beings. We have to love human beings and help each other. Killing one human being is killing whole of mankind. Saving one human being, saving of whole mankind, you know.
I know the Quran says that. You know the Talmud said it first? The Talmud
Please go ahead.
Yes, the Talmud says that if someone kills one person, it's like they destroyed the whole world. There's many statements that appear in the Quran as in some way inspired by God that were said before in our literature by rabbis. Now, Abraham, Adam, Noah, all these individuals didn't have a religion because the religion is an organized effort to get closer to God. They spoke with God. If the closest thing that Abraham had, and he was probably the first, was a covenant with God, an agreement to listen to God. Again, to submit, like you said, to submit themselves to God. They were Muslim from a descriptive perspective because they submitted to God. That doesn't mean that they practiced the religion of Islam. You do acknowledge this, right?
All right. Now, I would like to say something.
Wait. Hold on. I mean, just so I know that to me, you do acknowledge that the reason you call them Muslim is because they submitted to God, not necessarily because they lived like religious Muslims. You may believe it in faith, but you have to discuss things with me that I also acknowledge, right? I mean, if not, it's just a creed. It's a creed that they all practice Islam like you practice it. You can't tell that to a
Muslim means, my friend, the one who believe in one unseen God. Islam is a submission to one unseen God.
Well, that's not what Islam literally means. I mean, that's what it means today, right? I mean, Islam means to submit.
Like you said that you, my friend, you have said, see how you are speaking with, you're talking the way in a very nice and gentle way, not that man who was there before. He doesn't know the meaning of Shahada. He doesn't know the meaning of Islam or anything. He just keep on quoting in Quran, this and that. He's jumping onto something which he has no expertise in there,
No, that's
now,
fine. Hey, wait.
Yeah. So from Adam, every messenger, what is the difference between the prophet and the messenger? The difference between the prophecy and the messenger is the one who has physically taken the revelation from angel Gabriel. He called, that's a prophecy. He will be called a prophet. The one who is passing the message, taking the message from the prophet and passing on to other, he is a messenger. But some of the prophets were prophet as well as the messengers as well. They were prophets as well as the messengers. Some of them were only prophets. They were not the messengers. There were many prophets and messengers came on the face of earth to show the guidance of mankind to all of us. Yeah. So every prophet, when they came on the face of earth, they have been given some revelations. The population is grown up, and then another prophet came up, given a message. Yeah. So it started with like a Zubur, Torah, Injil, which is Bible, and Quran. Yeah. I will give you one simple example,
Wait,
my
wait,
friend.
hold on. I mean,
See, just 1 second, 1 second,
point by
1 second, please. 1 second, please. 1 second. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah.
Alright, go
You know, there's when the first time the computer system started, it did not started with Windows 2000 or Windows NT.
right.
It is started with DOS operating system. And in that DOS operating system, there were some errors, there were some viruses and problems. Then it is been upgraded to Windows 98. Then problem again in that. Then it is been upgraded to that Windows 2000.
Okay,
Then Windows XP, like that. Similarly, the prophets came in, and during the time the population grown up and they were creating viruses and problem. Then another prophet came
get it.
and bring the revelation. This is how it came up to Judaism, and then it becomes a Bible, and it becomes a final version, which is a Quran, and a final version, which is a Quran, which has got no viruses, no problems, and it has been sealed in the heart. You know, so we cannot just say that there was not a religion of Abraham, Adam, David, Noah, Jacob, Zechariah. Then why did they came on the face of earth?
Hold on.
They came here for the purpose. You know.
So-
That's what I'm trying to explain.
So in Judaism, a prophet, the job of the prophet after the Torah was given through Moses on Mount Sinai was to bring us back to this Torah, right? But so you acknowledge that these individuals, at least from our perspective, from a Jewish perspective, they themselves weren't practicing the religion of Islam. They, yes, submitted to the will of God. Whatever that will happened to be, we believe we have more commandments nowadays. They had less back then. Fine. I know what you believe. You're pretty much giving me a creed that you believe a prophet could bring something new to the table, and every prophet in some way progressed our revelation. Our Bible does not endorse the idea of progressive revelation. Why? Because our Torah says, just like the Quran says, that we're not allowed to add or take away from it. We're not allowed to. A prophet who adds anything new to our religion and says that God told us that now we have to start doing this instead of that, we take him out and we stone him. This is why Jewish people do not become Muslims. Now, I understand why Islam has this approach to it, because it has to justify its existence by belittling what came before. You did it with Christianity, and you do it with Judaism as well. But we believe that because someone could become Jewish, let me ask you this question. Are you familiar with the idea that somebody, even born from India or Saudi Arabia, could become Israel if they wanted to?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Are you familiar with the idea of somebody converting to Judaism?
No, I will explain you why.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I will explain you why. Abraham's first wife was Sarah. Sarah was a queen. Sarah and Abraham was from a white family. Okay.
White?
And
White family?
the
you
white
said?
family. Yes, white family. Queen.
Okay.
And she was a queen. Sarah was a queen from white family. Okay. And Sarah's servant was Hagar. Hagar was an African slave, and she was a servant of Sarah. Okay. And all the prophecies, 99% prophecies came from Sarah family. Right? When Sarah, before that, I would like to say something. When Abraham and Sarah, when they got married, they didn't had any babies or anything, yeah, up to 80 years old. She was
Okay.
80-year old. Then there was a message came from Gabriel to Abraham saying that we know, Abraham, what is in your heart. You marry with Hagar, a servant of Sarah, and she was African. Back then there was a slavery and this and that, you know,
You have
right?
to keep
So
your answer short. Hold on.
no,
I mean,
let me finish, my friend. You are asking me why. Let me say something, please.
Okay.
So what happened? The first son, Abraham's first son was Ishmael. And a few years later, Sarah had a son, and his name is Isaac. So the first son was Ismail. So Abraham's first prophecy is from Ismail, yeah, the first son, which is from the African family, the slave family, yeah. And the second was Isaac. From Isaac family, 99% prophecies came from Isaac family. That's why the Jewish people, they trace the family from mother, not from father side. They trace from mother side to see whether he or she is a Jewish or not. If I'm a Muslim, I want to be a Jewish, I can't be a Jewish. They will trace my mother, whether my father is Jewish or mother is Jewish. If my mother is Jewish, I can enter into Judaism.
Okay.
So whereas why the Jewish and Christians, they do not consider Muhammad as a prophet of God, because he came from the black family, Hagar family. So
Hold
they say because of the supremacy, and they say, oh, we are
let
very
me
supreme, we are very this, that. That is the reason, that
I'm
is one of the reason the
speak.
Arab people, like you said. So
Can I
this is the fact. We need to accept this. This is the fact. The first son of Abraham was Ishmael.
all right, I had to kick him off. I'm sorry. Okay. I never said that there is no ethnic component to the Jewish people. I never said that. Yes, there are some people who have a pedigree going back to Abraham. That's not what makes them special to God. There is no ethnic component to our religion. There is an ethnic component to our people, absolutely. The question was not, are Africans, Israelites? No. The question was if he was familiar with the idea that someone could become Jewish. That's all. That's all. It had nothing with, saying that Jews are racist, this and that. According to that same Bible, to say that because Isaac and Ishmael, where does Amalek come from? Doesn't Amalek also come from Abraham? Edom? Moab to a certain extent? From Lot? The same people who were in some sort of covenant with God. Pedigree is not the all in Judaism. My point, before I had to kick him out because he's very long-winded, is that everyone listening to me today, my main goal here is to remind people, or I guess to let them know for the first time, that if you wanted to become Jewish, you could become Jewish. That's it. But if they're not even able to acknowledge that, and it's so silly. All right, guys, let's. I'm not blocking people, by the way. If people don't let other people talk, then what's the point? If it's not a dialogue, then what's the point? Trust me, I let people talk, and I'm very patient with people. But they have to, in some way, return the favor. They have to be just as courteous. We're trying to have a dialogue here, and it's not to convince him. It's to in some way, educate everyone listening. That's it. Yes, you can become Jewish. Muslims have a different religion. There's no point of someone quoting the Quran to someone who doesn't believe in the Quran. That's it. This whole story of Gabriel going to Abraham, it doesn't say that, by the way. But anyways. Guys, hop on.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, sorry guys, I had to just kind of kick you out just because I wanted to allow the guy to redeem himself, just because I think that maybe the Hebrew Hammer was rubbing him the wrong way. I don't know, but he still didn't let me talk either. So it's just.
Well, he called you a rat, so that wasn't good.
Well, he called you a rat.
No, he called Jews rats.
Oh, Jews in general. Okay, fine.
Yeah, so you qualify as the rat thing too. Look, you can believe whatever you want. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. As long as you're a good person and you don't try to kill me or kill my people, you can believe whatever you want. You could believe.
By the way,
you could believe the sun is the moon and the moon is the sun. It doesn't matter to me. The problem arises when you try to extinguish and erase and deny my history and my belief system simply to confirm your belief system. Believe what you want, but why do you have to deny what I believe and what Osher believes and deny our history with all these ridiculous assertions? Look, you can't retroactively make someone a religion. It would be like me saying I'm starting a religion tomorrow, and it's called the Hammerism religion. And anyone that breathes oxygen is a Hammerite. And so therefore, all of you are now Hammerites. You're all Hammerites because I said something that happens to co-opt everyone on earth to my religion. The fact that Islam means surrender to God, which, by the way, it really means, submission to God. It really means surrender to God, which is what slaves do. They surrender. The fact that it means surrender to God, and there are people that surrender to God beforehand, doesn't mean they were Muslims because they didn't practice any of the. To be a Muslim, you have to accept Muhammad as the final prophet. You can't accept someone as the final prophet who didn't exist at your time of your existence. So right there. Then you've got the 5 pillars of Islam: zakat, making hajj, prayer 5 times a day, doing the shahada, and whatever. There's 1/5 one. To come and say, well, they were Muslim even though they didn't practice Islam because they submitted to God, well, that also shows you don't really know anything about the Torah. Because Jews don't submit. We wrestle and we struggle with. Nobody in the Quran or in any of the Hadiths ever argues with Allah. They do what he says. Abraham argued with Allah, but with God. He argued. Or you could call it a discussion or disagreement. But that doesn't happen in Islam. You can't disagree with Allah at all. Abraham, in trying to save Sodom and Gomorrah, he said, no, don't destroy this land. What if there are 50 good people? What if there are 25 good people? What if there are 10 good people? That's not submitting. That's wrestling and struggling with.
Negotiating, yeah.
Yeah, same thing with Moses.
Yeah.
How many times did Moses saved our people, right? God wanted to eliminate everybody from the at the time of the golden calf, and Moses said, no. Why would you do that? Then you're going to make it look like the Egyptians are the winners, and that you could free us from
Can I
bondage,
say
but
something?
you couldn't get us through the desert. That's not submission.
Before
Submission. We don't submit.
Before anything, we have to say one thing, and it's Shavuot Tov. Okay.
Shavuot Tov.
I hope you guys had the greatest last 26 hours because I had a great one. And what I wanted to say is that at the end of the day, like 60% of the alphabet is from Hebrew, right?
Which alphabet?
Pardon?
Which alphabet?
Yeah.
Well, the Arabic alphabet is based like on Hebrew alphabet, right?
The Arabic
something?
is come mostly from Aramaic with some Hebrew, yes.
Right. I'm here to listen. Go Naphtali. Listen in.
All right, can I say something?
Shalom.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Naftali, go ahead.
All right, so do you believe in the Torah, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You don't believe in the Gospels, the New Testament?
No.
No.
All right. Do you believe in the Psalms?
I mean, I believe they're holy words and they're very special, and
Yeah.
they were written about people.
Are you able to read a verse from the Psalms?
Let me guess, 22:17, you're going to talk about Jesus' hands being pierced and his feet and his hands pierced, right? Or 22:16
Yes, the
in the New
crucifixion.
Testament.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
that's
correct.
not what it says, except that's not what it says in Hebrew. You guys mistranslated it like most of the Old Testament. It says ka'ari.
Well, the
Isn't
Old
it amazing
Testament
how I
is
knew
not
what you were going to say?
mistranslated.
Isn't it amazing how I knew what
Yes,
you were
I
going to
knew.
say before you even said it? It says
It's
ka'ari.
because you have read
It says
because
ka'ari.
you
It
have
says
read the
ka'ari.
Torah.
It doesn't
That's
say
why.
pierced. It doesn't say pierced. It says
Well, it
ka'ari.
describes how Jesus gets. It describes how Jesus gets crucified on the cross.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Not in the original Hebrew. That's not what. Do you read Hebrew?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Even if the book of Psalms said that Jesus was the Messiah, there's no reason for Jew. And when I said that the book is holy, is that in Judaism, I mean, holy doesn't mean that it fell down from heaven. I mean, holy means that it's set apart. It means it's sanctioned by our rabbis for us to study. No concept could be thrust upon any Jew that doesn't first appear in the law of Moses. Why? Because Moses said, don't add or take away from this. That means everything we're commanded to believe and to do has to appear in the 5 books of Moses.
Amen.
If you're reading something in the Psalms that is in some way trying to get you to accept a new gospel, a new idea, that means you're understanding it incorrectly, because it can contradict the same Torah. That whether you believe that Solomon was talking about like Muhammad in the Song of Solomon, you know, it's the wrong reasons to join any belief system. Here, for example, I was attacking the idea like of the Bible codes. From the beginning, like the idea that people would come to religion because some computer told them that there's well, that one can use like the Bible as an almanac because some computer said so. Same thing with Moby Dick and other books, and people started dropping religion left and right. This is not a reason to become or remain, just because there's a cryptic area in the Bible where your prophet happens or not be mentioned. It just sounds silly. Like these arguments are primitive arguments for religion, right? I mean, it sounds like.
All right. If I ask you this, then
It's a
would you
primitive
believe
people. That's what you got to
the?
understand. They're primitive.
Would you
They're still
believe?
stuck in the 7th and 8th century.
All
Here,
right.
I'm just
Well, we know
gonna
the.
break it down. Here, I'll give you a way that you can verify this yourself. You don't even have to believe me. Okay, you don't even have to believe
All
me.
right.
The fact of the matter is, when you read Psalms and you read the Old Testament, you read the Christian translations. If you want to know what it actually says, go to your computer and type in Psalms Chabad, which is a translation from people who can read Hebrew into English. And you will
But
see in Psalms 22:17, it says, "For dogs have surrounded me, a pack of evildoers have enclosed me. Like a lion are my hands and my feet." It does not say pierced. It is a mistranslation on purpose to insert Jesus into the Old Testament. If you're going to read a
who is he
Christian
talking about then?
translation, you're going to get a Christian version. But if you read the
Yeah.
Jewish
Okay.
translation,
Okay. But
you will
who
actually
who
see
is
what
he
it
talking
says.
about? All right. But who is he talking about? What is there? Is
King
it
David is talking
Moses? Is
about
it?
himself. It's a metaphor. He's talking about the enemies who are surrounding him and closing in on him. King David was talking about himself. It's a metaphor. It's called a metaphor. The lions and the dogs are the enemies that surround him, the Philistines, the Amalekites, the other bad people that were trying to kill the
So you,
Jews.
so then you're saying that the old Codex Greek original script is wrong.
The Codex Sinaiticus, compared to the New Testament today, is so
Yeah.
wildly different. The Codex Sinaiticus that they use today
No,
isn't
it's
even the
not
same as the
because
Codex Sinaiticus that they had
no,
back
no,
then. It's
because
not even the same.
yes. Can I say something? So there's 2,000 prophecies that has been fulfilled
There's okay. Look,
by Jesus.
here's the deal. Here's the
So
problem you have. Here's
how
the
can you say
problem you have.
the
Yeah, Jesus didn't fulfill any prophecies. But anyways, here's the problem you have.
yes
If
he did.
if
Well,
Jesus doesn't fulfill
that's what
one
you believe.
prophecy,
I don't believe that.
did he bring world peace?
What?
Did he bring world peace?
If you no, he will probably later on.
Did he bring world peace?
No, he didn't.
That's one of the prophecies.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Did he fulfill his mission before he
According
died?
his mission, yes, he said
He
it was
fulfilled his
done when
mission.
he
He
died.
brought world peace. He brought world peace before he died.
World peace. Who said about world peace?
That is one of the things that the Messiah ben David will fulfill. He has to bring world peace. He will
But
bring
he
all
hasn't
the
fulfilled.
Jews in the diaspora back to Israel. Did he do that?
Yes, but that's later on. That's not now.
Oh, okay. So he was sort of like a half Messiah the first time around. So like a partial
No,
Messiah.
I never said that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't think you're taking this conversation seriously, so I will just go. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hold
Bye.
on. Hold
Bye.
on. All right. So we clearly have two different approaches. I mean, Hebrew Hammer. I mean, I try to let them speak a little bit, and
Yeah, but these guys here, they're coming on. They're not coming to convert. They're coming to try and tell you you're wrong.
yeah, no, but it's not about them. Again, it's about people listening.
Okay.
I want people.
But here's the thing. So I just hopped on because I did hear a lot of misinformation about Islam. So I'll just be correcting Hebrew Hammer because you said it a couple of times. Like you said, oh, this is Islam. There's 5 pillars. There's 5-time prayers and all this stuff. So you have to be educated about Islam. When you're quoting only the Sunnis, you do a disservice to other people who are not Sunnis. It's
You
like
mean the
me
Shias?
confusing you.
You mean the Shias?
What? There's Shias, there's people who follow the Quran only, there's Ahmadiyyas, there's so many sects.
Okay, but Sunnis are 90% of the world population. Yeah, but Sunnis are 90% of
they are, of
but
course,
Sunnis are
but they're not
90%
the
of Muslims
only,
are Sunni.
they don't
And
represent
Sunnis don't
everybody.
recognize
They
Shia.
have different books. They have
But
different
I am
books,
aware,
right?
and I
So
can tell you
they have
exactly
the
the difference.
Quran, and then they have the Hadith.
I
So,
know,
but the
I've
thing
read the
is, they don't
Hadiths.
really follow all of the Quran. They follow mostly the Hadith. It's kind of like
No,
rabbinical Judaism. Hold
actually,
on.
that's not
Kind
true.
of
The
like
difference between
hold.
Shia and Sunni is the Shia believe that the Quran was compiled during Muhammad's life, and the Sunni don't. Also, the Sunni believe that Abu Bakr was the successor to Muhammad, and the Shia believe that Ali was the successor to Muhammad.
That's
The Shia don't,
politics. That's
yeah,
politics. That has nothing to do with the religion,
and the Shia
right?
don't
I shouldn't
recognize
even say it's a religion because
Sunni
Islam is
hadith,
not
and the
a
Sunni don't
religion.
recognize
It's a
Shia at
deed.
all. The
Well,
Sunni
that's
don't
fine. They
recognize
can
Shia at
fight.
all. They think they're fake Muslims.
Hebrew Hammer, you gotta let me talk for a little bit.
I don't gotta do anything.
Because if you read the, but you could be respectful, right? We can have
I
a
could be.
dialogue back and
I
forth.
could be.
Yeah, okay, so let's do that. Let's do that. Let's
Not
be
if you
nice
come
because
on
it's
here telling
Saturday
me I
night.
don't know what I'm talking about with Islam, when I guarantee you I've
No,
studied
I'm
it more
saying
than
you
most
are
Muslims.
only talking, no, but you're only talking from the Sunni perspective, right?
They're
So the
90% of the people,
Quran,
and it's the most
can I,
recognized
can I,
form of Islam in the
can I
world.
finish?
No,
Quran says
no,
you
you
cannot
can't
split up into
because you're making a
sects,
point
right?
about the exception
And
and not the
there are
rule.
there are Muslims who split up into sects. That's fine. They can
Great,
do that, and they can have their
great,
own.
great. But
All right, guys, new topic. New topic. Much love for my friend Hebrew Hammer. But yeah, we have different styles, and he's the hammer. You know, what are you gonna do? I mean, I'm more when like trying to drive home points. I'm more like of a fly swatter. So welcome, the last person left in the room. You sound religious. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Hi.
Religious, a little bit. Since let's say November of 2022, I started keeping kosher and Shabbat.
Uh-huh.
And the reason why I wanted to go live is exactly to say this, that I know it sounds weird and all that, but my life completely changed. Like so many things just started happening, whether it's business, whether it's life, whether it's like, and a couple of times, I just stood there and told myself, what are the odds that these things happen the way they did? Like how, I don't know, I'm not going to go ahead and start talking personal stuff, but I do believe that at the end of the day, it's hard to convince someone that there is or there isn't a God. But the flame that burns inside us, and I'm literally saying that the flame that burns inside us, it just gets stronger the more you take off your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
The more you actually
You're
believe.
a convert? You're a convert, or you're like
No. I mean, convert. My mom is Jewish Moroccan. My dad was Hungarian Christian. Growing up, it was never very religious inside the house. I did go to Jewish school though, just because I guess the education level that was offered in Montreal, Quebec, Canada was good. It wasn't just Hebrew. It was a lot also on maths and physics and science. But it literally on my bar mitzvah was 40 people. Some of my friends had hundreds, but only lately have I just bent forward a bit more towards believing and trusting and going forward with it. And I want to say to the people that are inside here listening or thinking about it and so on, the whole world today, everybody hates each other. But the beauty about Jewish is that at least between us, we really love each other. It's not like a fake love. It's like a.
I don't know if that's so true. My policy in this show is to first tell the truth and then give opinions. I don't think Jews, the notion of achadut, I wish was a lot stronger amongst religious Jews. I don't think with secular Jews we have much in common, but yeah, like Jews.
Hebrew Hammer was saying Chabad, right? That whole organization is just absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, it's mind-blowing how far they'll go to make you feel comfortable and to make sure that you're eating kosher and make sure that that you have what it takes to go travel anywhere and have a good life like everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
for sure that's true. I mean, I wish they would extend that as well to people who are not Jewish who are interested. But okay, I mean, their policy is that they only take care of Jews. But yes, I mean, That's
Well,
for sure.
it's a Jewish community, right? It's.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
Anyways, much love, Rabbi, and continued success.
All right, what's up? Thank you.
Bye bye. Good stuff.
Okay, hey Asha, what is up?
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. I just had a quick thing to say, right? I really wanted to talk to Hebrew Hammer about this, but hey, I can pass that on to you. And I want to come really like I really want to hold to the Jewish perspective. So I'm going to try and stay out of New Testament ways as a Christian. That's fine. I can do that. So Hebrew Hammer was saying, you know, that Jesus Christ, right, hadn't fulfilled the one prophecy that was that did he bring world peace. So I was going to put it forward to him and say, well, is it that one prophecy that makes you blind to all the other prophecies that he had fulfilled?
So it's not set in stone that the Messiah is supposed to bring world peace. Okay, I mean he's supposed to bring. The understanding by most Jews is that he's supposed to bring peace to Israel. This is what Maimonides teaches, because the verse they use is that portion in Isaiah. Is it Isaiah? I think Isaiah as well as Jeremiah, of like the wolf laying down with the lamb and the kids playing in a cobra's nest and all these things. So the Rambam says that's completely hyperbolic. That's just there to tell us that Israel will have peace amongst themselves. They'll have sovereignty and they'll be able to like live out a Torah lifestyle without any hindrance. It doesn't mean that other nations amongst themselves will be peaceful. This is why that Rabbi Kiva thought Bar Kokhba was Mashiach, right? And there wasn't going to be world peace even if they defeated the Romans. So it's not a monolithic understanding. I know this is how Tovia Singer and Michael Skobach and the counter missionaries teach it, but they only teach one perspective and they have an objective. And
Okay, so another thing I had, right, because you have told me that the prophets of the old, that they were there just to bring people back, you know, to the Torah, that they weren't so much wholly inspired. So if that is so, and I'm sure that that whole idea of, you know, the Messiah is going to bring world peace came from a prophet, well then if you guys don't believe so much that that was wholly inspired, why do you hold on to it so much to deny a man who had come and was doing each and everything to bring people back to the Torah, if anything even better, because he was trying to up it by one standard, you know, to have that. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, the average Jew doesn't dislike Jesus because of anything that Jesus did.
Yeah.
But Christians made him. The issue they have, their major issue is people believing that Jesus is God and people teaching that Jesus did away with the Torah. Those are the two major issues.
I actually believe that's pretty offensive, and I, as a Christian, do not, you know, ascribe to that. I find that to be very false doctrine. It's the mainstream, you know, that Catholic mindset, and it is pretty sad to see that there. But if we take that away, we say that he doesn't have that deity, we're not placing that deity upon him, then where does that stand for you?
Oh, then I have no issue. You know, everything I see that Jesus did in the New Testament is very similar to what outreach workers do today. They're trying to call out the hypocrisy. They're trying to make Jews more religious, bringing the old way, for sure. And there's things that I believe that Jesus didn't really do that appears there. Like any instance that he was God, but he could have been more like of a Kabbalistic Jew, right? I teach constantly that Chabad has the idea that a Rebbe is a divine essence in bodily form. There's a lot of cryptic language that Gnostics could use that is typically misunderstood. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah. But
forget the part about the deity. Where do you see that he might have missed the mark or hadn't yet fulfilled something that relates to the Torah? Because it's kind of contradicting for you guys to say, well, he didn't bring world peace. And a prophet had said that, who says not wholly inspired. So no, I'm not going to take that as, that's kind of contradictory because you guys don't see it as wholly inspired. So it doesn't make sense that you're going to hold one man accountable for that one thing that's not divinely inspired. Sorry, I mean divinely inspired. Yeah. So where do you see that he might have missed the mark or, you know?
Yeah, but that's the issue. Those are the only issues that they have with tolerating him as the Messiah. In Judaism, there's a group called Chabad, Lubavitchers, who believe that their rabbi, or some of them believe that their rabbi is the Messiah. And people marry into this group. They pray in their synagogues. They eat their food. so they're tolerated in the Jewish people. There's many times we think, or many other rabbis in the Ashkenazi world think they're nuts, but we still tolerate them as Jews. The reason Christians, and specifically Jesus, is not tolerated is because of dogma and doctrine, not necessarily because of what appears in the four Gospels. It means someone claiming to be the Messiah is not an issue. That doesn't mean that we're going to accept it, especially when Christian dogma teaches that if you don't accept it, then God is in some way not going to validate your religiosity. That's a big problem, because in Judaism, even Chabadniks, if you don't believe that the Rebbe is Mashiach, they'll be like, fine, that's up to you. You don't have to believe in it in order to have a God or to find your spot in the afterlife. But Christianity teaches that if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to burn in hell. So it seems like Christianity is a lot less tolerant than I am.
Yeah, as I said, I'm staying out of the Christianity mindset. I just asked directly, as he was a man, if he had come into today's world and was doing as he was doing, forget the Christianity mindset, because as I said, I'm staying out of that.
Right.
How then do you not see that? Is there going to be any other man that's going to fulfill as much as he had done? I
Who
really
knows?
highly doubt.
Who knows? That's the
Who
point.
knows?
We don't
True.
know. We don't know.
I mean,
But plus, it wasn't just one thing he didn't fulfill. He didn't fulfill any of the criteria. You chose to stick to one thing, the world peace, but he didn't fulfill any of them.
Can you give me others?
Sure.
Can you give me
He didn't
others?
bring all the Jews back to Israel from the diaspora. He didn't build the third temple. The Messiah, when the Messiah comes, as we
Okay, first of all,
understand it, as
sorry,
we.
can
Why
I
are you
interrupt
interrupting me?
first? I can go
I
by
sat and
each
listened
one.
to you,
Well, so that I
and this
can
is
go
why
by
we can't
each
have
one.
conversation. She interrupted me
Well,
every
that's
10
why.
seconds.
No, but
Why
how,
can't you just let
Mum,
me
so that
finish?
I can respond to each one. Let me respond to
Let
each
me
one.
finish. Let me
Okay,
finish.
I'm gonna have to try and remember all of them, but okay, go
Okay, I'll
ahead.
remember them for you. Don't worry. Okay?
Okay.
When the Messiah comes, as we understand it, there will be no confusion about it. Everybody in the world, everybody from all faiths, from all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all religions will know that it's the Messiah. There will be no dispute because he will come right into your hearts and it will be an understanding. Did everybody agree that Jesus was the Messiah? Obviously not. You and I are disagreeing about it right now. So that can't be it either. He also has to come from the line of David, which Jesus did not.
Okay, can I respond to them?
Knock yourself out.
I will. He did come from the line of David.
Who was his
One.
dad?
Two, it
Who was
was the
his dad?
Heavenly Father. It was God the Father. So
Okay,
even
great.
better, I'm going to up that and say
Right,
even
that's not
better.
from
He
the
was
line of
Heavenly
David, though.
Father.
That's not from the
Yes,
line of
it is
David.
through the mother. It is through the mother. He is.
Tribal affiliation in Judaism goes through the father, not the mother.
No,
Try again.
but if we go back to Torah standards, I believe, Asha, could you speak on that? Isn't that a little different? Because all people on Mount Sinai were of different multitudes. So
I said tribe, from the different tribes. Judah,
yeah,
Menashe, Dan,
yeah.
whatever, all
Mary
the rest of the
came from
tribes.
what
It goes through your
tribe?
father, and you can't be adopted into a tribe.
Is that right, Asha?
It's quite unknown. I mean, there's no source that says you can.
Okay, so there you go.
We have
So that,
examples. We have example in the Torah of the not, but whatever. Okay, fine. And not
okay,
only
so
that,
that one,
in,
I'm gonna knock
even in the
that one out.
Gospels, they can't even agree on his lineage. In the different Gospels, they have different lineages.
Yeah, I get that. I do know that. But regardless, he was from the Heavenly Father, right? Okay, I'm gonna knock that one out because I'm gonna knock that one out. The second one you said, again, you might have to remind me that he didn't bring all the Israelites or the Israelis. Sorry if I'm to
Right.
Israel. Where are we today? Do we not see that God's hand has brought back the land to you guys? Do we not see that?
Not what it says, not the land. It says all the Israelites, all Jews from all four corners of the earth will go back to Israel. I'm not in Israel right now. Neither is Asher.
Yeah, but you choose not to be. You can. You can go back.
It doesn't say. The
Just
Messiah
because
will
you
bring back all the Israelites if they so choose. That's not what it says. It doesn't
What
say
do you
that.
say on that, Asha? I think you have a choice to make, and you choose not to be there. That's your choice.
But that's not what but that's, you're right. 100% you're right. I agree with you, but that's not what the prophecy is.
Well, you guys have said that the prophets are not wholly divinely inspired. So, I mean, why are you holding it?
That's okay. I mean, that's what I teach. There's rabbis who disagree with me. All right. The reason I let Hebrew hammer on is because you wanted a piece of him, But I don't teach a lot.
I'm satisfied.
I mean, I have my own perspective on it. I don't
Why
think.
does
Yeah.
it matter to you if I believe in Jesus or not? Why can't I just
It
believe what I
doesn't.
believe and you
No,
believe?
brother, it doesn't. I love Judaism so much because I'm drawn so much more to Judaism, and I hold it to such close to my heart. But it's just really just because you can't see it and feel him in your heart, because you said where he hadn't come into all people's heart. You do know that he said himself, there will be those that will deny me. There will be those that will turn their backs to me. Sorry, just because you've turned your back, I'm not going to say that that wasn't a prophecy fulfilled, because you made a choice and you made the choice that
Not sure you
was to
understand.
go.
Not sure you actually understand what a prophecy is, but okay.
Well, would you like to explain it to me?
Yeah, a prophecy is something that will happen, not will happen with caveats and qualifiers, which is what you're adding to it. The fact that I have a choice doesn't negate what the prophecy actually says. The prophecy says what it says. You're now adding to the prophecy to justify and to explain your belief system and your understanding. But it doesn't say, Jesus said people will turn away from me. Great, good for him. I'm happy that that's what he said. But you're talking about Jewish texts. And Jewish texts didn't say everyone will know the Messiah except those people who so choose not to believe the Messiah. That's not what it says. That's what you say because of your Christian understanding of what the Messiah is. And that's okay. I'm great with that. That's dandy. I'm down with that. But to come in here and tell us what our Jewish texts say and then add qualifiers and caveats and subsections and addendums and codicils to it to justify your belief system is just wrong.
I
Let us
wasn't
believe
telling
what
you
we
what.
believe based on
Yeah,
our
of
own
course.
words. That's it. Just
I
leave us alone.
wasn't. Hey, I'm I'm not like coming against you in this way. Don't take it that way. Just because you are a little unshaken by what I'm saying,
I'm not
that's
unshaken.
on you.
I don't
Yeah,
get
you seem
unshaken.
you are, brother. You seem you are. I'm
I'm not
coming.
unshaken. I'm not
And I
unshaken.
didn't come and put your text in front of you. All I said was what I had been learning from Asher was that you guys had said the prophets were not divinely inspired. You guys, in the Torah, there's no mentioning of this. I know the concept of the Messiah is not so much in the Torah, and
Right.
even the fact that the world peace. I mean, all I've come is just to question where you are not seeing how you're breaking apart that he hadn't fulfilled the prophecy. That's all I've come to understand how you guys are not seeing it. And then I've come to give you, well, this is how I see it. That's all.
Great.
So,
Mazel tov.
Abraham.
Mazel Tov
Mazel tov.
and Shabbat Shalom. I think you guys are in your Shabbat Shalom, right?
That's another thing. Jesus didn't keep the Sabbath.
Absolutely, he did.
I don't know about all that.
Hold on, hold on. Abraham, I'm going to drop you for a second. I mean, just so we have a dialogue about something else. All right.
Yeah.
You wanted to speak to him? Yeah, he's extremely passionate.
Yeah.
Again, I always say first what the Jewish people typically believe, and then I give my understanding on a lot of things. If you ask the average Jewish person, he's not going to make a distinction between what appears in the prophets and what appears in the Torah, unfortunately. But I'm a type of Jew. I'm a rationalist. I believe in the oral law and the written law. However, we're not, well, all Jews will acknowledge you're not allowed to build doctrine of what appears in the prophets, even though they do it. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. There's no, I think it's antithetical to the Torah to assume that anyone is going to bring world peace. And it's going to be perpetual, like many rabbis teach. Because that means that God's going to have to essentially give everyone a lobotomy, that you won't be able to sin. The Torah doesn't say, the Torah doesn't literally talk about Mashiach. I mean, it says that exile, that sin, exile, and redemption is a formula. And also, this idea that prophecy appears that it has to occur is also not a principle in our Torah. If God says that something's going to happen, either as a blessing or a curse, it's always conditional. We see this in the book of Jonah. God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh and tell him that he's going to destroy that place. He never tells him to repent, but they know that in order for God to be just, they have to be given an opportunity to make things right.
Yeah.
If they repent, they turn back from their wicked ways, and God doesn't destroy that place. Now, assuming that the second part of the book of Jonah was lost, would there be people Would we have people nowadays still thinking that God is going to resurrect Nineveh again just to destroy it just because it appears in the Bible? No, this applies to every prophecy and every curse and every blessing. It's always conditional. The idea of bringing every Jew to Israel, the Torah doesn't say that every Jew has to live in Israel.
Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me that.
Yes, what the Torah says that Jews have to visit Israel 3 times a year. That's all it says. Throughout Jewish history, the vast majority of Jews never lived in Israel. There were in Israel, but most of them lived outside. Even in the time of Moses, there were tribes that partially lived outside of the borders of what they conquered. Now, this is a weird metaphysical understanding that all the Jews are going to come back to Israel and stay there.
Yeah.
That's actually the idea that there's an obligation for them to do so actually goes against Jewish law. I mean, there's no obligation for every Jew to live in the land of Israel. Embellish the idea of the Messiah, just like I think Christians embellish the idea of the Messiah, but it doesn't align with what the Torah says. It's because there's a lot of symbolism, poetry, and there's many hyperbolic statements that appear in the prophets, because that's what it says, that he's going to tell the 4 corners of the world to like give back the Jews, but that's just poetry. I mean, it's not that that's literally going to happen, because first of all, that would free will, that God's just going to bring people back just because they have a pedigree going back to Abraham. We see, read the book of Ezra and Nehemiah. That's how redemption looks like. That the vast majority of Jews stayed behind in Babylon, and only a handful actually went back to the land of Israel to build the temple. And it was the same thing in Egypt. The vast majority of Jews stayed in Egypt, and only a few left with Moses. It's always like this. However, the symbolism, hyperbole, gets people to think, oh no, it's a different way. And I get that. I mean, sometimes the poetry gets people to view things not with Torah lenses. We can't contradict what the Torah says. The Torah says that it's exile, or that sin, exile, and redemption is a formula, and it's to happen over and over again.
Yeah. So I had another thing. Thank you. There was a lot I took from that. I had another thing. I mean, because you just went through all of them, I wish I had knocked each one off. I just remembered now. He said also that, the third temple, is it the third temple that hasn't been rebuilt? Well, we are the temple. Doesn't it say somewhere in the Tanakh that, for man cannot build the temple with his hands, that it is, I believe that it's an inward thing. We are the temple. So yes, that has been fulfilled. That's what Jesus tried to tell us, that we are the temple. It is an inward. Heaven is within.
So that is what Jesus said. It says the kingdom of God is within you.
Yeah.
The temple. Okay. So in the Torah, there's no notion of a temple. There's a notion of a mishkan. So mishkan means a sanctuary.
Yeah.
So a temple is a sanctuary with a stone base, and we have a commandment to build to build a sanctuary and place it wherever God tells us to place it. Now, it moved many places before it made it to Jerusalem. Technically, it could continue moving according to the Torah, because the word Jerusalem doesn't even appear in the Torah. But fine, here's in the writings. It seems that the last place God chose was Jerusalem. But it was in Gilboa, it was in Shiloh, it was in many different places. One landmark of redemption is us keeping the commandment that we have to build another sanctuary. That's it. That's a landmark. Just like another landmark of redemption is having the option to establish a king. And that's where the building of the temple came in, and the notion of a Messiah existing in a Messianic age. They were, in some ways, spin-offs of those two plain biblical, and one is a command, and one is what's called the reshut, like an allowance, because we're not commanded to establish a king, but if we want a king, we have to, I believe, establish the one that God chooses, whatever that may mean.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Asha.
Yeah, but give me one command. I mean, so I could push back a little bit here.
Hmm.
Like, give me one prophecy that you believe Jesus fulfilled. I mean, a literal prophecy.
Okay, I haven't read. I've only read the Torah. I haven't read the prophets and the writing, and I've read the New Testament. Okay, he gave us Christhood. You know, he gave us for the sake of, you know.
Sure. I mean, I think Christianity have brought more people to ethical monotheism than even. I mean, then for sure than Jews. But
Yeah. Like so one thing, right? Okay, I know how you feel about Christianity, right? You guys would say that we have veered off, that we've strayed, right? But I would not be here speaking to you about Judaism and understanding your faith if it hadn't been for Christ, for Jesus, the Messiah. To me, he's the Messiah, right? If it hadn't been for this man that walked this earth 2,000 and so years ago, I wouldn't be here wanting to learn on Judaism, the Gentiles to them. I mean, give me another man that has done that.
I agree. That's a great thing. Planet, 100%. There are
Yeah.
many redeemable qualities in Christianity.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't really answer the question of what prophecy. Now, the truth be told, I don't think there are any prophets. Are kings, priests, and prophets. And the only guys we have in the Torah are only priests. Because nowhere in the Torah does it tell us that we anoint kings. Nowhere in the Torah does it tell us that we anoint prophets. Right? Although in Tanakh it does. In Nach it does. Torah only talks about anointing I mean, specifically the high
life is, and I've obtained it for myself. So how about that being a prophecy that was fulfilled?
Yeah, I mean, even the notion of everlasting life doesn't appear in the Jewish Bible either. I believe in afterlife and a heaven and a hell, but I don't think God requires me to believe in it. This is why I'm not a counter missionary anymore, and I've debated Michael Brown. I've debated many people. I think my time is more well spent trying to get Christians to become Torah observant. Because
I agree with you.
Right, and if there's many religious Jews that only the people within their studies. God has Tanya, Breslov has the Kutam Quran, and just have the New Testament. And if that book brings you closer to Torah and closer to God, then keep studying.
Yeah, amen.
I wish that you would come to Judaism without middlemen.
Without what, sorry?
Without a middleman.
Right? Without a middleman.
Right. But I same way with Chabad. There's a group of Chabadniks called Mishachistim that they believe that the Rebbe is Mashiach. And I'm happy that they believe that. Because if you have that, I don't know where there would be. You know, but
well, I guess sorry to interrupt. I guess you could put it that on, and I know that you're so for this. I guess you could put it on Judaism. I don't really see anyone proselytizing here and trying to bring me to the word of God through them. So you can put it on them.
I'm trying.
Yes. Amen. I'm so for you on that. And yeah.
The truth is, I think God's going to give a lot of people a pass because it's true. I don't see Jews. I mean, I see a lot of Jews complaining about Christianity, but I don't see many Jews trying to like nudge them in the right direction. I mean, even with the seven laws, I mean, the Jews who do that are still minuscule. So So I'm not. I'm promoting Torah. I'm not attacking Christianity just because being that the notion of the Messiah is not literally in the Torah. Like, I mean, it's not even worth like dismembering. And the notion of the Messiah, as believed by Christians, was in my opinion developed by Jews. There's so many ideas
Yeah.
of Messiah in rabbinic literature that could fill every theological notion that appears in the New Testament regarding the Messiah. I mean, if someone believes in a Messiah that's never going to die, that comes in the clouds, that could read your mind, that's superhuman. I mean, he's an Ubermensch. We're not dealing with a human anymore, okay? Like we're dealing, I know that you don't believe this, but it shows that because we over embellish the notion of the Messiah, eventually some people would come to the conclusion that he's possibly God. And there's some Lubavitchers, a small group, like mainly in Israel, in this place called Kfar Chabad, that they believe the Rebbe is God. They're called Elokistim. Right? So it's not something that Christians invented, okay? But it seems like just arguing with Christians over who the Messiah is, or arguing with Muslims on pure monotheism, so trivial, right? I mean, let's try to get people who are unethical to start behaving better. Guys to
Amen.
their wives and their neighbors nicer, and to be more honest. And oh my gosh, because we're so affluent and bored that we feel that we should start discriminating over trivial matters. It's so stupid.
Amen. So true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you for having me.
Okay.
It was so good to talk to you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. Welcome.
How are you, brother?
Hi. All right, let's go for it. So what do you think of the title? That Judaism is better?
Yeah, because brother, this is the first time try to understand this. What does really Judaism means?
So the term itself biblically means nothing. Biblically. Nowadays, colloquially, it's just the name of the religion. But if I would describe what the religion entails, it means entering into a covenant with God. If I would rename the religion, I would call it Torah Covenant.
And in this religion, what I need to believe in?
Here,
what
speak
I
up
need to
a
do?
bit, because I don't think it.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but speak louder than everyone can hear. We're on YouTube also.
Okay. So I just would like to know that what should I do when I accept this religion? What is the practices and what are the beliefs of this religion?
Well, on that note, please understand that you could accept this religion and be part of Israel. You could convert to Judaism and be as much of an Israelite as someone who happens to have a pedigree going back to Abraham. Okay, so what do you have to believe? Well, you have to believe that God gave us instructions to live by. So we submit ourselves to God and those instructions.
Okay, and where do you get these instructions from?
It appears in what we call the Torah.
Okay, very good. And so, in order to practice this religion, I need to understand Torah, and then I have to follow that book, and that will be sorry, that will be something which is a part of the religion. And if I practice it, then I will be answerable to God after I die, or no? Or is it something a part of the faith?
So, in terms of what happens after you die, the most we know about that in the Torah is that God will write you in a book. In terms of heaven and hell, it doesn't say anything about it, but it says that he will consider you part of these special people if you keep these laws. That's what Torah means. Torah means instructions.
Okay, and does we have any prayers which we need to do instructed by the God?
So very similar to Islam, but Judaism has an oral component, a legal component of with statements that exist outside of the Torah. So according to this legal code, it commands us to pray essentially 5 times a day, but it's split up into 3 segments.
Okay, and how do we need to pray? Like what we need to do when we pray towards God?
So there's certain prayers outlined. So whenever that you hear the word prayer in Judaism, it refers to the Amidah. Because the Shema itself, God commands us to do that in the Torah, but that's not a prayer. That's almost like a creed. Uh, Judaism really doesn't revolve around the idea of petitionary prayer. It's more of shouts of praise, and the rabbis gave us liturgy to recite that cover all bases. Yeah.
So is it like a form of physical prayer which you need to do it?
Yes.
Bow your head towards or something like that? Or
Yes.
is it like anything you have to read as well, speak as well while you pray?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's similar to
But
Islam.
is it okay? And what is the name of the God in this religion? How do you call God?
So God's name is clearly not God, and it's not Elohim, but it's what Orthodox Jews would say the Yud Ke Vav Ke, or Yud He Vav He.
Okay. So that is the in Torah. That name is in the Torah, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So we need to believe in Torah. We need to believe. We need to pray, and we. What are the sins in this religion? Right? What are the bad things in this religion that we need to sorry, we need to avoid doing it?
So in the law itself, there are what's called positive commandments that tell you to do something, and negative commandments that essentially tell you not to do something. So there are many of them. Like one shouldn't violate the Sabbath. One shouldn't execute others outside of a legal system. There are many don'ts in our religion. Yes.
For example, like I cannot kill anybody, as you said, out of the legal system. And is there anything about the food, like I can eat or not eat?
Right.
What food? What food I can eat?
So you're not allowed to eat animals that do not chew the cud or have a split hoof. You're not allowed to eat fish that don't have fins and scales. You're only allowed. You're not allowed to eat the birds that literally appear in the Torah as part of the prohibition. Camels you can eat, rabbits you can eat. Yeah, I mean it's broken down in the Torah. Yeah.
Okay, and is it something like you have halal food as well? What we call in
The word kosher really just means fit. So yes, that we have a term for foods that we're allowed to eat. Yes.
So kosher is a system of killing an animal similar to halal, or is it a different way?
That's not the word they use. I mean, slaughter in Hebrew is shchita. But yes, I mean, it's very similar. I mean, Islam is an offshoot of Judaism. And in terms of practice, it adopted most of it, I would say 98% of its practices from Jewish practice. I mean, including prostration, the notion of the hijab, like all these things predated Islam. It appears in the Talmud and in the Mishnah. Yeah.
So what is the 2% which you think is different? You said 98%
Sure.
is a similar thing.
Well, Muslims are allowed to
2%
eat camel, like you're allowed to eat rabbit. You don't necessarily hold the Sabbath as holy. All Muslims have to believe that Muhammad is the final messenger. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's probably more than 2%. Yeah.
No, but if you don't, let's say, if you become a Jewish, okay, or Judaism, you have to deny the Prophet Muhammad. You have to say that he's not a prophet.
Well, not necessarily. Because the job of the prophet is to bring you back to the Torah. It doesn't say that if you adopt someone who's not accepted by the vast majority of the Jews as a prophet, especially when there's no Sanhedrin, that you are in some way sinning. If a Jew wanted to believe that Muhammad was a prophet, but not believe in his prophecy because accepting the Torah as an extension to the Word of God would be breaking the Word of God, because God tells us don't add or take away from it. But just believing in someone as a messenger or a prophet from God, even though it's unpopular, it's not necessarily a sin.
So Jesus is a prophet or Jesus is a God according to this religion?
So most Jews don't believe in Jesus. We don't believe that he was a prophet either. But if for some reason a Jew did and still kept the Torah, he really wouldn't be sinning.
So is it somewhere in Torah that if you believe in Torah or if you believe in Moses, you have to deny any other prophet coming after Moses?
It depends what you consider a prophet. The job of a prophet in Judaism is to bring you back to God. Now, if you want to believe that one person is a prophet, and I'm pretty sure it was like this in Jewish history, that some prophets were accepted by everyone and some weren't. Does that mean that person sins? Oh, I mean, as long as you're not violating the Torah or that prophet is not getting you to violate the Torah, there's no big issue. The only reason we have books of prophets nowadays is because these are the ones that our sages decided or sanctioned that we should study. But the Talmud says that there were hundreds of thousands of prophets. Right? You're telling me that people didn't doubt the prophecy of a handful of these people? I'm sure they did. But, I mean, it doesn't... Yeah, God punishes us for breaking Torah commandments. If what you're doing doesn't literally appear in the Torah, then you're not necessarily breaking anything.
So Torah for Christians is like a first testament, and the Bible for them is a second testament, right? Something like that. They believe in the first commandment.
Well, the Torah is part of the Bible. Okay, but really the Word of God, yes, the Torah, and everything else, the prophets, the writings, are there to bring you back to the Torah, because they show how God acted and reacted throughout Jewish history. But no, the books of the prophets themselves are not the Word of God. They're giving you a depiction of the life and times of that prophet and what the opportunities that God gave the Jewish people to return back to him. But yes, they were speaking his words to those specific people, but they were never meant to be used as an almanac of things to come. For us, let's say.
Excellent. I learned a lot of things today. And one more question, if you don't mind. I have more questions to ask, if you don't mind, brother.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, but just know that you yourself could convert to Judaism if you wanted to. Being Jewish or part of the Jewish people is not solely an ethnic pursuit. You could join the people via conversion, and Israelis, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, the Mizrahi Jews, they would accept you as Jewish, as fully Jewish. We're not a race. We're essentially a people united by belief and practice.
Because I live in Lisbon, and I have a very there's a very good I think synagogue here, very close to my house, and I think one of my friends went there about asking this religion, and they said you cannot convert to Judaism, you cannot become a Jewish, you have to be from the family.
I'm pretty sure that no Jew ever said that. No. Now, it's true that in places like Lisbon, I don't think they have a conversion program there. But that doesn't mean that, I mean, if you were truly sincere, that you couldn't travel to the land of Israel and convert to Judaism there. Like I said, I wasn't born Jewish. I converted to Judaism 25 years ago. And I was given citizenship to the land of Israel. I lived in Israel for 5 years, and I'm accepted as a Jewish person. So, I mean, just know that it's possible.
Good. So what are the what do you think is the basic difference between all these three Abrahamic religions, and what makes the Judaism the best religion out of all these three religions?
Mm-hmm. So I view Christianity and Islam essentially as offshoots of Judaism. What makes Christianity ethical and is that it's based off the Torah. I think that before someone converts to to Christianity or Islam, it behooves them to look into the parent religion, what came before. And that's Judaism. However, if you would start with the Torah, you'd be forced to remain in the Torah, because that same Torah tells us not to add or take away commandments. And for the most part, what Islam and Christianity brought to the table is narrative and metaphysics, not commandments. Wouldn't you want to be part of the ethical block, the ethical well that both Christianity and Islam fed from, instead of two belief systems that in some way tried to replace Judaism, but still really couldn't exist without it, right? Because it seems that pretty much everything in the New Testament and in the Quran that's significant are just ideas and principles that are recycled from Torah. So why would you want the copycat when you could just go straight to the original?
Okay. That makes sense as well. That makes sense, brother. And sorry, bye. I have little cough. Sorry
No,
about
it's okay, man. No problem.
thanks for your time, brother. I hope sometime we can talk later as well. Thanks for your time, brother. Jazakallah khair.
All right. Man, I wish this person, Darl 9713, would come up, but I don't think you have enough followers. Because you have 12 followers. Go figure. Just love when people insult you in the comments but don't come up. Oh my gosh. So many people have different tactics on how they get their point across. My goal is just to dialogue with a person and try to meet them halfway. And just yeah, but like I said, there's value in what other people do. It's just it's not what I do. That's fine. All right, guys. So hop on. Let's go. Judaism is better. That's the name of the room. And what I do, I encourage people to look into Judaism. I think the way you defeat bad ideas is with good ideas. The way you defeat bad religion is with good religion. And I'm trying to make Christians and Muslims Torah observant. That's it. And I would wish that one day would in some way end with a conversion. And it says there's the medrash that says, "Who's the hero of heroes? He who makes an enemy into a friend." And the only way you're going to pull someone away from Islam is by giving them a viable alternative to that belief system. And I think the only viable alternative to Islam is Judaism. That's it. Okay, let's see. Welcome, Simcha.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, are you sick also?
No, I think I just talk too much for work. Not sick, just talking too much. I loved the guy that was just down there with all those great questions. He seems very ready. Seems really ready. I hope there's people on here that are Christians that would similarly have, really kind of an open mind about Judaism to ask their questions. So you were talking about this, I forget what you just said, but you just said a really remarkable thing to that person. What was the last thing you said to him?
About conversion?
Was it, what do you think about, from my perspective, I think all of Israel is the Messiah. Or anybody.
I mean, first of all, I feel the notion is a dangerous notion. I mean, it's caused more problems. Yeah, I mean, the notion of the Messiah in general. First of all, why even run with a concept? I mean, that has a meaning. It can't be that. I mean, Israel is the Messiah. I mean, Messiah means anointed. Israel's anointed.
And Isaiah says, Israel, don't forget me. You're my Does he say you're my son? You're my messenger. He says you're my messenger. Messenger to who? To non-Jews, right?
I think maybe.
No, it
I
says
mean,
it in.
I mean the Orlagoyim, when it says the light to the nations, I'll make you. Like,
Yeah, but he's like talking to Israel. It's either Jeremiah or Isaiah. He says, Israel, you're my messenger. Don't forget me.
Yeah. So in that portion, it's specifically talking to the prophet who's also part of Israel.
Layla sending love back. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so you're saying that you believe that Israel's the Messiah because they have some obligation to
They're the
Gentiles.
messenger. It's the messenger nation.
Yeah, no, that I mean, I agree with.
Yeah.
I
mean, you're being a messenger right now to the nations.
Yeah, I don't think every
I
Israelite.
mean, it's not some kind of like a lofty, crazy kind of supernatural thing. I mean, in a way, it kind of is remarkable, but it's not like what Christians see it as, something supernatural.
Yeah.
Always based in reality.
So I think it's a nice thing for Jews to encourage Judaism. I don't think they're obligated to. I mean, I think that just some people may hurt the cause more than help it. But I think, people who are patient should be sent out to dialogue with other religions. Again, I never told anyone they have to become Jewish. I just first wanted to know that it's possible. And that's probably 90% of the Muslims I speak to don't know it's possible. So that's information to begin with. And the problem is, I'm not saying that Jews are telling them that you can't convert. They're just not saying anything. So,
But I mean, didn't they stop converting because it became so dangerous during the Crusades and all that? Wasn't it just really dangerous? They were shut down.
So the Emperor Hadrian outlawed it, and then since then it's. I mean, for sure there are. I mean, in the Middle Ages, these countries were religious. They didn't want people being. And condemned to hell. I mean, they believed left Christianity, they wouldn't make it to an afterlife. So, I mean, they thought they were doing their citizens a favor. In Judaism, you could know if you're right and wrong. This idea that it doesn't really matter, there's so many different opinions. We have what's called source material. Our source material is either the 5 books of Moses directly or the Mishnah. That's it. Mishnah is part of the Talmud. In terms of legality, because rabbinic doesn't deal with belief, although it mentions belief, right? This is why many rabbis will say that we don't hold by this medrash, or we don't hold, by that agadah, just because the rabbinic only deals with what you do. If the rabbis had the authority to institute metaphysical ideas, and they could vote that the Messiah should come tomorrow, or that our enemy should drown in the sea, right? Their power is to give us. I mean, it's a place that God chooses, and they will give us Torah, and not to stray from the right or to the left of what they instruct us. But it has nothing to do with belief. It's only what you do, because courts, they vote things into existence. You can't vote metaphysical ideas into existence. So this, because a lot of them don't know this principle, and they think that only because something happens to appear in the Talmud, you have to believe it. There's many ideas that contradict itself in the Talmud, especially metaphysical ideas, especially in Kabbalistic literature. So, I mean, how can you hold by all of them?
Like is that having a Talmudic mind? Have you heard the story with the 2 men that come down the chimney, and one has a dirty face and the other one has a clean face?
Yeah, it's a famous.
And that you have to have a Talmudic mind to say, you're arguing back and forth, like what really happened, and then really at the end, it's revealed. How can the one person have a clean face?
Yeah. So that notion of the Talmudic mind is a different understanding. I mean, that's really what they do in some.
So when Torah, when the Tanakh has stories that don't measure up to reality, rabbi can do that, knowing the Hebrew, knowing Judaism so well, like they can dig in and kind of understand the deeper meaning behind that then.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like missionary guys. I sort of disagree with what they do. Yeah, I think.
No, I mean when you have like when there's like Torah study, you dig in and you go, okay, well, what is and then you get into a word and it's like, okay, and then you're looking at what the word means and
what's called Peshat level understanding. But in ambiguous notions, and that there's commentators like in the Jewish world that go both ways on nothing, and acknowledge that rabbis view it differently. Instead of just caring more to defeat the person than anything. So that's what I try to do, because once the person finds out, you know what, there's some rabbis that believe Isaiah 53 is talking about the Messiah.
Yeah.
They're going to leave not just your religion, but they're going to drop the belief in God because they're going to lose faith in religious people.
But don't they look at it? I mean, don't they look at it? There's a set way to look at it, and then you can look at it in other ways. But to when you're doing Torah study, for example, you're teaching what the rabbis would generally teach about that. Even if you say, okay, well, my personal belief is whatever, but this is what the rabbis say.
The truth is, for a study, one rabbi's opinion is not more valid than your opinion, assuming that you know the Hebrew as well as they do. We don't learn how to do Judaism by the way rabbis interpret the Torah. We have codification of Jewish law, where like Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Torah.
Very fascinating, actually, the way it's viewed.
Yeah. So, I mean, Reform has more of an open mind
Yeah.
regarding these things, but most Orthodox Jews don't. I mean, it depends who you're talking to. In the yeshiva world, it's more accepting, at least in the Ashkenazi world, but you could have 5 different opinions, and they'll just tell you to do what your rabbi said.
Yeah.
Your own personal rabbi. So say, do what your Rav says or does. In the more about Tshuva world, like newcomers to Judaism, converts, they're into what's called art scroll Judaism, and that's pretty much like they'll read the art scroll, or they'll read, I guess, like popularist online, like if they're like former Christians, like they'll really study Tovia Singer and Jews for Judaism, and they'll just repeat their opinions over and over again, but that's not really being honest. I mean, that's not doing the research for yourself and realizing that they're just giving one opinion. I don't believe Jesus is the Messiah, right? But you could disagree that Isaiah 53, that the suffering servant there is Israel.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus is the Messiah.
Because I don't believe that Isaiah 53 is talking about Israel. I believe 53, the suffering servant there is Isaiah himself. And the message...
Yeah, because it doesn't even prophecy like that. It's not trying to read the future. It's not trying to say... And it's David talking... Isn't it David talking about himself?
Well, Isaiah... Yeah, it's Isaiah. What verse are you...
In Psalms. In Psalms, isn't that David talking about himself, like he's being bullied?
I mean, it depends. It depends, because many of the Psalms weren't written by David. I mean, sometimes like more Le David, like a song about David. So
that the one that you were reading earlier was from David. I don't remember what it was, Psalm 20 something.
Oh no, that was that's like Hebrew Hammer was talking about.
Yeah. Like
the term Keari.
Yeah.
People say that it's like my hands have been pierced, but Keari means
right.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Fascinating. So the Haggadah is the more metaphysical stuff.
All right, so it's the same word. I mean, it was like Agadah, because
Agadah, okay.
Read during Passover, but Agadah, but I mean, it's the same word. It just means like story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And the story has sort of a metaphorical, deeper message, no?
Possibly. Possibly.
Okay.
It depends. That's what the average rabbi will tell you. That what's called Midrash Nagada are there. I mean, it's there to teach you. Well, it depends where it appears. If it appears in the Talmud, it's there to in some way try to expand on the halacha that's about to be brought up, like the din that they're arguing about. But there's many midrashim that are not in the Talmud. So I think it was Maimonides said that if someone believes every Agadah, they're a fool. But if they discard them all, they're also foolish. So there's something to learn there.
So let me ask. I'm kind of curious because you guys were talking earlier about Jesus, how he didn't meet. He cannot be the Messiah because he did not bring world peace. And the things. So go ahead.
But that is the consensus.
Yeah, and then I don't believe he's Messiah. I mean, I became very angry towards Christianity when I was so mad that I was raised with all this nonsense because I wish that I would have, known Judaism sooner. My life would have I would have made different choices, But, in one sense, it's kind of interesting. I was just thinking as you guys were talking, in the one sense, it is kind of interesting. Like it is sort of a bridge to Judaism because there is nothing else that really bridges. There's no other religion before that really bridged, like Judaism was its own completely different kind of belief system.
Yeah. No, this is why it's interesting. I mean, the Rambam writes in a letter that we're allowed to encourage Christians or like to teach Torah to Christians to draw them to our religion. This is a famous statement. For some reason, most rabbis don't even know it exists, but it's out there. He specifically says that we shouldn't do so for Muslims.
No. What?
Yes. I mean, this is what he says. Maimonides. I mean, it's just an opinion, but the reason he says it is because they'll use it against you.
Oh.
Believe in our Bible, while Muslims don't. So, I mean, he doesn't mean that under the proper auspices that you couldn't educate a Christian properly, like a Muslim properly, on what the Torah really means, but that it's easier to do it with a Christian because a Christian already believes in your Bible.
Ah, yes. Oh, right.
So why? Because there's some, redemptive qualities in Christianity, and I mean he teaches this in one of his letters also, that God used Christianity to in some way bring the world to like notions of ethical monotheism.
Yeah, and somebody made a comment, that Jesus, because of Jesus, that message, went all around the world. That's true. It's kind of interesting to think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is what I'm not here to bash Christians. I'm not here
to say that he's like Messiah, like he brought world peace. He did not, but to bridge people to Christian, to Judaism is
I don't
pretty
view
interesting.
prophecy anyways. By the way, I mean the idea.
You know what?
I don't view the idea that someone has to bring world peace as a requirement. No. I know that some people do, but it's just not. First of all, it's not there. There might not be in the Messiah because he doesn't say world peace is a prerequisite. So I mean,
okay. So can I tell you? Remember, so last time I told you something that I personally saw in Tanakh that is not really commonly believed or whatever. So you know how Jonah, it's the story of Jonah. It's kind of interesting that, Jonah is not exactly, but, if you think of Jonah as Judah, right, as Judaism, if it's talking about if it's a story about religion, right, and Jonah is Judaism, and, then the giant fish, right, and Babylon, Christianity uses a symbol of a fish. Yeah. So this giant fish swallowed up Judaism. Are you following?
I mean, I'm trying to, yeah.
So Christianity swallowed up Judaism, and it uses the symbol of a fish. Babylon swallowed up Judaism. It used the symbol of a fish.
All right.
And then after 3 days, so like 3,000 years, because a day is like 1,000 years. And I'm sure it was talking at the time about Babylon, right? If this is supposed, I don't know, if it is that. And then the minute Judaism goes, or say it's Judaism, right, goes out and it starts teaching, it's like immediately people convert.
Okay.
I know that's very, very out there.
Yeah.
It's very. So I'm gonna put my stuff in the midrash.
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna add my own stuff to the midrash. My own, what is it, Agada?
Yeah. Agadata is in Aramaic. Agadata.
Oh.
I'm having devotional understandings to midrashim or words of the prophets.
Yeah.
In my head, people start saying that if you don't validate my understanding of this verse, then God is mad at you. That's what I have a problem with. And they begin to shun people like nothing. Like, so yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I don't know if you can like mull that over, think about it, read it.
All right, I'll think
see
about
what you think. Yeah.
So my friend Layla is asking me what are my thoughts on the concept that a day is like 1,000 years, or a day is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
God is 1,000 years for us. So it doesn't say that in the Torah. It does say it, I believe, in the book of Psalms. But it's hyperbole. And there's many Jews. I mean, there's this idea that God is that the Messiah returns in the year 6,000 because God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, it's King David or whoever wrote that psalm, because the vast majority of the psalms were written by David. Only because it appears, it doesn't mean it's true. That's what we should do is run with it and build a whole doctrine.
Yeah.
But
so that was like David's or Solomon's Haggadah. I'm saying the word wrong. Haggadah about the days of creation.
Well, the reason we call things Agadah it's really Agadah because the word midrash literally means from the drash, from the Torah.
Okay. So this is midrash.
Yeah, but I mean it's also Agadah.
Yeah.
Midrashay Agadah.
Yeah.
Whatever, fine.
Midrashay Agadah. Okay.
So we believe that anything in rabbinic literature that's not of a legal nature falls under the status of Agadah.
Yeah.
That it's not halakha, it's not legal.
Yeah.
But it sounds a bit hard, but it's somewhat disposable.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of something like, okay, this sounds like it, but I mean, who knows? There's nobody around that wrote that stuff to verify anything.
But you can, that's fine.
But that's how I see it. I just see it. I mean, once I saw it like that, I mean, the Jonah story, I can't see it any different anymore. I can't look at that story and go, okay, that's because it's ridiculous.
If somebody wants to believe that Jesus fulfilled prophecies in the Old Testament, there's no.
Yeah, no.
Like if someone wants to declare Jesus the Messiah of their heart, there's no problem with that.
Yeah, no, but I'm not saying that Jonah has anything to do with Jesus at all. I'm just saying like Jewish people. It's the Jewish people. That's my belief. That
the problem arises when they expect you to believe it, and they and they teach that.
Oh, right.
And they teach God is the
right.
You.
Yeah, here's my goofy theory, and you have to believe it or else. Right. And Superman's here.
I flew in as fast as I could.
Awesome. Are you Christian?
I couldn't find a telephone booth, so, they're rare of those nowadays.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Are you Christian?
No, he's Jewish, I believe.
Oh, you're Jewish?
I probably have some Jewish lineage, but I don't have any confirmation on that. I was thinking about converting to Judaism, but
I love that.
Right now I'm agnostic, so as far as it goes.
Okay.
I believe in God, but I'm more inclined with Orthodox Judaism, heavily influenced by Tovia Singer. He originally was what kind of like founded my reasons on why I wanted to leave Christianity, and the bigger reasons why I should follow what Judaism is saying.
Yeah, I'm a former Christian myself.
Yeah, I was brought up with a huge evangelist, very strict,
Yes.
Hispanic,
Mm-hmm.
they, my pastor was Guatemalteco, and he was really, really strict. I mean,
Yeah.
couldn't, boys had to wear pants, girls had to have long, it was really strict in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that becomes oppressive after a while.
My problems were when I started asking him questions concerning why it is that the Jews did reject Jesus, and his following answers were you should pray to God and hope that the Holy Spirit gives you the answers. And that wasn't something I wanted to hear.
Right.
I actually wanted to hear something more so I can actually connect with God, because up to that point, I was having probably a very mischievous, youth where, I didn't want to obey to a lot of authorities. And so, but when I really wanted to get to know about God, I was being stonewalled, and he didn't want to answer my direct questions. And that's what kind of led me to the beginning of shying away from Christianity and Jesus.
For sure. Asking questions and then being shut down. That, oh my gosh, that's exactly what happened to me too, actually, when I think back.
Because they do. They avoid answering the questions, and it becomes heated. And then their ultimate answer would be pray to God, and the Holy Spirit will answer you. And I'm sorry, I don't. It's not that I don't believe in God, but I don't believe He just hands down things like, "Oh, here you go. You asked. Here it is." There's reasons why people are in places of position, whether you're a pastor or a rabbi. There's a reason why you are there, and this is why people are coming to you. And if you are a shepherd of your sheep, I'm hoping that you're going to be directing your sheep just like David did. But if you're not defending them and directing them like you should be, then I would question why you're there in the first place.
Yeah, big question. Cha-ching. No. Big question. Wow. So where are you on your journey now? Like you're questioning, you're agnostic?
Yeah. To be really honest, I don't remember where it is. I think it's in Proverbs, where it says like if you, or I don't know if it's the New Testament, I forget now for some reason. But the more that you study, the more confused it is that you're. Oh, I think it's the New Testament, where it gives you the spirit of confusion. Well, this is where I am, sort of. I've really looked into. Recently, I've been. Not that I'm interested, but I've been given a lot of content concerning Islam, and I'm very worried that people do follow Islam. And I don't want to say any further because this is not my live and stuff, and I don't want to start, making people angry and all that. But, where I'm at right now is I'm literally, I have a lot of questions, and I'm seriously confused on the whole subject of God and religion and containing him with his books, and, the whole people are killing in the name of God. And, people are waiting for a Messiah and a God to come back. But lately, I've been feeling like the responsibility is within us. If the governments rule because we vote for those governments, and if the governments that we do vote for are in place because we didn't vote for them, and we're not ignoring societal standards and going up to our parliament or Congress to go and fight for that kind of thing, then it's our fault the way the world is. It's not anybody else's that we've allowed these leaders, collectively we've allowed them. We outnumber these leaders by probably 1,000,000 to 1. You know what I mean? There's only a handful of rulers in this world, and we've allowed them to continuously not only shame the name of God, but also create famine and destruction. And I would have to suggest that it isn't people in humanity that, is essentially evil or that we make the wrong choices. It's a handful of people who are ruling that are making these choices. is for us.
Yeah.
So and it's just going to work your 9 to 5 and you're being a good person and it's like, okay, well, at least I'm not doing that. Then I think that you are part of the problem, because if you're only expecting to do the least, then when the most happens, then don't complain.
Yeah. Well, I remember, gosh, was it like 15 years ago when Christians were trying to push to get into government? And, there was like online chat stuff about religion. And I was like going through my journey and I was saying, you don't do this because we don't know what brand of Christianity is going to come into power. What if we disagree with it, or what if it, brings in a really, at the time there was like a lot of fear about Muslim like extremism, and like what if it opens the door to this, I thought at the time, Islam to come in, and that we're going to be like Taliban as well. And but
Yeah,
I
welcoming to
never,
Sharia law. That would
right, I
be the end of it.
never realized Christians themselves would be like that.
Well, the Christians themselves, eternally, when I was sitting here and I was listening to the one lady speak about the prophecies, the messianic prophecies, she really couldn't list one of them. And that just shows that most, unfortunately, I don't want to be rude, but most Christians don't know their Bible. They read only the New Testament, and they've shunned away the Old Testament as the old God. Well, Jews don't know. Well, they rejected because they're still waiting for the Messiah. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
These are the kind of
So
things that I hear that actually boils my blood, because it just shows the ignorance that you haven't even bothered to know one messianic prophecy, just one.
Right. Or, well, they don't even read the Bible anyway. They just read a verse here and there, pop open the Bible and read a verse, and then, okay, I'm done for the day. Say my
And take it
prayer.
out of context and
They have,
use it where it's applicable.
Right, or, just follow whatever the pastor says and like, okay, I'm good to go. I mean, they're not reading, like in Judaism, we read the whole Torah. And every year we read the whole Torah.
all right, guys. Until next time.
Mm.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Are you oh, you look so tired. Are you tired, Rabbi?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always tired. Anyways.
Yeah. Are you signing off?
Thank you for letting me on, Rabbi. I
Yes,
hope you have a
thank
great
you.
night, eh?
Thank you for having me on too. Thank you so much for doing this.
All right, tomorrow I think we'll do it again.
All right, cool. Shalom.
All right, because I was going to ask you a question, or I was going to ask you a question coming up here, and I know I got in a conversation with her. But can I ask you just one question before you go?
Yes.
Okay, no, Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi. What are your thoughts on premonitions and people who have them?
You mean like? I mean, can you explain what you mean?
Well, premonitions, right? Do you know what a premonition is? Like being. So being able to see somewhat of the future has given you the ability of seeing something that is coming, and just basically that. I wonder what your thoughts are, or what Torah speaks of it.
I don't have an opinion on it. There's instances of people having dreams of that we see this with Joseph, but in terms like I have a hard time believing that God. I'm not the only one who had this opinion. There's a famous rabbi, the Rabbi Gershom ben Levi, also known as Gershonides, also believed that God didn't know the future. Maimonides says that God doesn't know what you're going to do before you're going to do it. That what he controls, calls it the kohota teva, like the forces of nature is what he controls. But in terms of if you're going to repent or not, God doesn't know, according to Maimonides. So the idea that someone could walk around knowing what's going to happen before it happens contradicts free will, in my opinion. But there's statements in the Torah that don't agree with this understanding, and there's statements that do. Some statement talks about God changing his mind on things. So I don't really have an opinion.
Okay, I had one long dream when I was like 17, and every day doesn't seem new. That every so often I'm getting like profound, like I have no idea how to explain it, but it's like deja vu has been around me since I was like 17 years old, and it's literally like bothering me that I get those, and it's hard to talk about because a lot of people, they want to jump to either, oh well, you're cursed, You know, is one of the things that I was told when I was younger in church. Oh, the devil has a hold of you. He's possessed you. And then, you know, it's a psychiatry trying to say like, hey, well, you have mental issues. You're probably schizophrenic. But I think, like, you know, I've looked into a lot of other people have that as well, which also begs the question of predestination. You know, Moses or even Jeremiah, when he was in there, God knew what he was going to be before he was even born. He knew how he was going to be. So that means that anybody that's in the Bible or anybody that's existent, God already knows who we're going to be before we do it. And when we do it, we're chosen to do those things because it's almost like part of the huge, bigger plan. Because if someone I almost think it because I'm studying right now networking. It's almost like bits and network bytes that everything has its place and its numerical digit and value, and that if that numeric and digit value were to stray away from the bigger purpose, the whole system would dissolve. It wouldn't work because mathematically it has to be composed properly. And I think of it maybe if God does have a plan and has set a few things and people are predestined and are chosen in some respect or regard to do something in life or people have to do those things in order for the plan to succeed, and straying away from that kind of like takes away from the free will like you're saying. So I know this is long-winded. I know you wanted to get off, but I just feel like I wanted to talk to you about that.
I mean, I just disagree. And these things you quoted are in the prophets, are not in the Torah. The idea that God, you know, I have a problem. I know many people saying, oh, they believe that everyone has some sort of calling or purpose. I disagree. I mean, some people don't do crap with their life. I mean, some people, I mean, this idea of what, I mean, God knew that this person wasn't going to amount to anything. I think there's potential in everyone to do great things. The idea that you're destined for greatness, it's really a form of fatalism. I don't believe in that type of God. I just it makes religion purposeless. Everyone has a mission and a calling. That's not what do you mean? I mean, there's some people, you know, we cultivate that in ourselves. Yeah, I think philosophically it's problematic. I'm not saying there aren't verses in the that justify it, but I think there's verses in the Bible that go the other way. Well, there's someone asked me online that where does the Rambam make the statement? It's in his Parsha Mishnayot in Perka Avot, like in the Mishnah that says that everything's under heaven but the fear of heaven. But his commentary on that. So I mean, you guys could look it up.